cómo lo hemos hecho, pero lo hemos conseguido. En el año más difícil hemos preparado la final más dura y difícil de la historia. Bienvenidos al Freakest Challenge 2021.
The Freakest Challenge 2021 is brought to you by Fittest Freakest, Night, G-Shock, Hyperice, Noko Ruster, and Footspin.
Freakest Challenge es una competición peculiar. Muchos intentan entrar, pero solo los 8 mejores equipos llegan hoy y aquí, y solo uno será campeón. Se enfrentarán en duelos, en playoffs, rondas eliminatorias de vida o muerte. Parece difícil, pero os lo contamos en un minuto.
El Freakest Challenge es una competición de cross-training, el deporte del fitness y la disciplina que ha revolucionado el planeta. El fitness ahora tiene estadios, competiciones, superatletas y una comunidad que no para de crecer. En el Freakest Challenge solo participan equipos oficiales, cada uno representando a su gimnasio o box, y compuestos por 2 chicos y 2 chicas. Todo empieza con un clasificatorio previo abierto a todos los equipos de Europa, pero solo los 8 mejores acceden a la gran final que se celebra hoy y aquí. En esta final, los equipos se enfrentan en formato play-off, rondas eliminatorias con duelos 1 contra 1, donde un sorteo inicial definirá el cuadro de emparejamientos hasta el duelo final. Solo los 2 mejores equipos llegarán al último duelo y solo uno será campeón.
Este año en el Freakest Challenge no hay 3000 personas gritando, pero hay muchas más viéndonos desde casa, y por eso era imprescindible contar con los mejores comentaristas del mundo. Por ejemplo, están estos chicos, Woodland y Marquez. Un auténtico lujazo tenerlos para toda la gente que nos sigue desde muchas partes del planeta. Lo van a hacer en inglés y lo van a hacer muy bien porque son absolutamente los mejores, pero es que aún hay más. Hay mucha más gente que nos sigue y lo van a hacer también con Bruno Ballesté y Avendano. En cualquier punto del mundo que hablen español van a oír a estos 2 chicos hacerlo muy bien y explicaros lo que está pasando para que lo entendáis, lo sigáis y lo disfrutéis. Bruno Ballesté y Avendano también, qué lujazo tenerles hoy aquí con Woodland y Marquez, pero que también hay gente que nos sigue desde Italia. Chao a toda la familia italiana que nos sigue y nos sigue para ver a Giulia Salvi y Roberto Allievi, que van a poner la voz en el Freakest Challenge en italiano también. Súper lujo tenerles. Y aún tenemos más comentaristes. Estem en directe per Esport 3 i tenim ni més ni menys que la Míriam Riau i el Marc Solà, que faran els comentaris.
Fittest Freakest Challenge for 2021, Sean Woodland and Tommy Marquez here with you. And this is a pretty unique event if you've never experienced it, Tommy. I know you were there last year and got to see this live, or 2 years, I should say, live in person with all the fans. It was a great atmosphere, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how this format plays out.
Yeah, 2 years ago, right before the 2020 season, 2019-2020, I got to go out to the San Jordi Club in Barcelona. 3,000 people live, packed into that arena, sold out in seconds. We had 8 of the best athletes in the world alongside 8 teams competing side by side. It was a 1-part fight club, 1-part nightclub, 1 part just good old-fashioned CrossFit throwdown, and it was absolutely a blast.
There are 8 teams competing in this event. Red Grizzly will be first.
Hola, soy Gonzalo Arteta, tengo 29 años, empecé a hacer CrossFit hace 3 años y mi primera competición fue en el 2019.
Hola, mi nombre es Virginia Finol, tengo 40 años, empecé CrossFit en 2013 y mi primera competición fue en 2016.
Hola, soy Adrián Magallón, tengo 28 años, empecé en CrossFit en 2011, aunque mi primera competición fue en 2016.
Hola, me llamo Silvia García Izquierdo, tengo 27 años, conocí el CrossFit hace 4 años y empecé a competir a los 2 o 3 meses.
Up next, Arda Bros CrossFit. CrossFit Senegalia, another one of the teams that will be competing here. And what we're gonna do here is these 8 teams will be put into a draw, and then we'll fill out a bracket. But listen, learn more about that.
Mi chiamo Nicola Bonura, ho 26 anni, ho iniziato CrossFit nel 2016, quindi è quasi 5 anni che lo pratico.
Mi chiamo Francesca, ho 23 anni e faccio CrossFit da 3 anni.
Mi chiamo Yuri, ho 24 anni, faccio CrossFit da 4 anni e mezzo.
Mi chiamo Chiara Salandra, ho 23 anni, competo e pratico questo sport da 4.
Good look at CrossFit Senegalia. Up next, CrossFit Pamplona.
Los atletas que tienen sí que lo han conseguido. Se llaman ni más ni menos que CrossFit Pamplona.
Hola, soy Daniel Camacho, tengo 27 años, llevo practicando CrossFit desde el 2012 y mi primera competición fue en el año 2015.
Hola, soy Ana Moya, tengo 25 años, llevo haciendo CrossFit desde el año 2016 y mi primera competición fue ese mismo año.
Hola, soy Nordi, tengo 29 años, llevo practicando CrossFit desde 2014 y he empezado a competir en ese mismo año.
Hola, soy Jonne Koski, tengo 24 años, llevo 5 años haciendo CrossFit y mi primera competición fue en 2017.
Up next, CrossFit Officine.
First Italian team coming to the board. The first affiliate in Italy.
Sono Stefano Migliorini, ho 32 anni e pratico CrossFit dal 2011, che è lo stesso anno in cui ho iniziato a fare le mie prime competizioni.
Sono Antea Longo, ho 32 anni e faccio CrossFit dal 2013 con alti e bassi, quindi è da 8 anni che sono in questo mondo.
Mi chiamo Pietro, ho 24 anni e pratico CrossFit da 5 anni e la prima competizione è stata nel 2016.
Continue to work our way through the field here. Up next, CrossFit for Friends.
Hola, soy Helena Carratalá y tengo 26 años. Empecé a entrenar CrossFit en 2016 y mi primera competición fue en junio de 2017.
Hola, me llamo Fayán Benito Soyes, tengo 24 años, empecé a hacer CrossFit hace 5 años ya y en el 2016, ese mismo año, empecé a competir.
Hola, soy Sara Valera, tengo 27 años, empecé a hacer CrossFit en 2015 y a competir el año siguiente, en 2016.
Soy Damián Martínez, competidor de CrossFit, tengo 27 años y llevo compitiendo en CrossFit desde 2016.
6 teams down, 2 teams to go. Up next, C23 CrossFit featuring some familiar names like Christoph Horvath, Ella Wunger, and Erica Eklund.
My name is Christoph Horvath. I'm 27 years old. I have been training since 2013.
My name is Ella Wunger and I'm 23 years old. I started training CrossFit 5 years ago.
My name is Erica Eklund. I'm 24 years old and I have trained CrossFit for about 4 years.
Linus Besander, age 30. Been training for 7 years and started competing 2016.
First goal is probably domination. Second goal is having a good time. Maybe in that order. We'll see what happens.
Love it.
And finally, CrossFit 77 feet featuring a woman by the name of Valentina Wrangle, who, if you were watching the coverage of the Last Chance qualifier, was actually in contention for one of the final 2 spots for the 2021 Noble CrossFit Games.
Hola, soy Jonne Koski, tengo 23 años. Empecé a entrenar a principios del 2017 y mi primera competición fue a finales del mismo año.
Hola, soy Helena Avendano y tengo 21 años. Hace 4 años que entreno y empecé a competir en el 2017.
Hola, soy Chete Garriga, tengo 23 años, empecé a entrenar en 2017 y mi primera competición fue en verano de ese mismo año.
And those are the 8 teams that will be taking place in this, or taking part, I should say, in this Freakest Fittest Challenge. And it is a bracket-style format. So teams will be going head-to-head in a bracket format. It's a knockout type of format. I love this, man. I wish we would see this more often.
Yeah, this is a very unique format and interesting format. You don't typically see in other competitions. We even got to see earlier in the broadcast, there was an adaptive athlete competition. So they're really hitting the full scope of athletes that are very capable and also very fit. And I think that's one of the things about the Fittest Freakest Challenge is they haven't been afraid to try new avenues of competition, whether it be through format, whether that be through the inclusion of athletes. And I think that's what sets it apart. This knockout format is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
When you have something that's very clearly on the line and you're throwing it all into a do or die scenario, exciting.
And Mat Fraser is one of the men who is heavily involved in this event, and he's about to address the athletes who are present there in Barcelona.
Hey athletes, congrats on making it to the final of the Freakest Challenge. I'm sure making it this far hasn't been any easy task, but to tell the truth, the time to shine and prove how hard you've worked starts now. I'll be watching and enjoying. Good luck.
Always great to hear from the 5-time fittest man on earth who is now enjoying retirement and hopefully relaxing and watching this really fun competition format. Now, right now, they're getting set for the draw. The teams do not know who they will be matching up against here in the first round. That is about to be determined.
And just like last year, there was a draw format as well where the athletes from Nike actually went up and got to pick which team they were going to be the coach of. So all of these teams that made it last time were paired with one of the Nike athletes. So they got to have basically a pro athlete, one of the best in the sport, help guide them through this competition format. So, you know, if you like a little bit of raffle style bingo balls, this is right up your alley because nothing is set in stone, and we get to figure out the matchups that we're going to see in this format from the get-go.
Love the fact that you just have a bracket. You give me a bracket with anything and I get excited about it. And we'll try to fill this out as they go along so we'll know who the first couple of matchups are here. But the first round will be 2 different workouts. So the quarterfinals will be 2 different events, and then in the event that one team wins one team wins the other, there will be a tie break. But so you're not just one and done if you're a team that's going to get eliminated in the first round. You have almost, if you're fortunate enough, you might have 3 chances to advance in the quarterfinals.
Los triple campeones CrossFit 77 feet.
CrossFit 77 feet just announced. We'll have to find out who their matchup with. I love this little game of chance here.
Well, we were talking earlier on. I mean, if they were to do something like this at the games or at a semifinal event, it definitely changes the complexion of the competition, because as we saw in the Mid-Atlantic CrossFit Challenge, you can pick off mayhem in an event here or there, and if it happens to be the right matchup, you might knock out a team that has a chance of winning the whole thing early on if you just get your workout.
Otro momentazo. El equipazo que viene a competir desde Italia, CrossFit Officine. Estamos viendo
CrossFit Officine is just been announced.
CrossFit for Friends.
They will
77 feet contra Pamplona. Siguiente equipo en saltar al ruedo y jugársela toda por el todo. Artabros CrossFit.
Artabros CrossFit.
Siguiente
looks
equipo.
like they will be
Y el último duelo.
Going up against Avendano.
Solo queda uno. El último duelo.
The athletes already starting to warm up and get ready for this. Because it's basically go time after this.
There is not a lot of time between events. I think this really reminds me of sort of the amount of work that would fit into a traditional invitational or the invitational team competition. If those you have been around to watch that international competition that we used to have. It's about the same time frame, about 4 hours of competition, maybe a little less, depending on how some of the events go. But again, the opening round, the quarterfinals round, will be at least 2 events. One team wins both of them. There's no need for the tiebreak. If they split, there is a tiebreak. It should be a pretty interesting opening round. And then after that, it's just one workout each in the semifinals and in the finals. And Mat Fraser, from whom we heard earlier, actually programmed that last event that we will get to. But we can take a look now at the bracket.
En este momento estamos todos
and it's Red Grizzly CrossFit and CrossFit for Friends. They are on the left side. CrossFit 77 feet, CrossFit Pamplona. There will be another matchup. CrossFit Officine and Atarbos CrossFit and CrossFit C23, a team of Christoph Horvath and company, will take on CrossFit Senegalia. And again, there will be at least two workouts these teams will face off against each other in the quarterfinal round. In the event they split, you go to a tiebreak. And you can see on the upper right-hand part of your screen the first event here. And it will feature the worm. It will feature 4 athletes working together on the worm, and then they will work in pairs after that. And then they will finally end up on the worm again together.
And that's one of the interesting things about this format, very similar to the Invitational back in the day, where, you know, it's a very small time frame. We've got multiple workouts. You have to reload quickly. You have to be able to perform pretty much on command with very little prep time. You see some athletes doing some warm-up as they were getting announced. And then now the equipment crews are on the floor, and we get to see this first event, which is stout to begin with because there's no hiding from these worm thrusters.
Right. The 30 worm thrusters obviously will be done, all 4 athletes working together. Then the middle part of this event, the 40 box jump overs, 50 chest bar pull-ups, and then the second set of 40 box jump overs. 2 athletes will be synchronized. The other 2 will be resting, and then they come together at the end once more to complete 30 worm thrusters as a group of 4. 12-minute time cap.
I like this format. Bookended this event with teamwork. You work together on the worm. You divide, you conquer on the box jumps and chest bar pull-ups, and you get back together on the worm to finish towards that. And you know, for an opening event that all of these teams are going to take place, remember each of them are going to get do 2 events guaranteed. I like having the worm implement in there for a team competition.
Sure. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, but 2 years ago you had the privilege of being at this event in person. Unfortunately, they are unable to have spectators in the venue there in Barcelona due to COVID restrictions. But when this thing is going full blast, it's it's really an incredible event.
It is. You know, I only got to go to the one in 2019, 2020. Unfortunately, it was the last event we got to go to basically before the world shut down. But while we were there, it really was a sight to behold. You can see the environment there, even without fans. They go all out for it. The presentation of it is second to none. I mentioned earlier in the broadcast that it was, you know, one part nightclub, one part fight club, one part CrossFit Throwdown. Well, then you throw in some of the best athletes in the world. You have Mat Fraser, you have Horvath, you have Sarah Sigmund's daughter running around coaching athletes. Noah Olsen was there too. And the environment really was electric. They celebrate this format. They celebrate the teams that are on the competition floor. And just because you're seeing them here on the floor for the first time now doesn't mean they haven't been going through qualifying. They've gone through it. They've gone through an online qualifier to get here. And as has been the case since 2015 when this event started, you know, there's a process for them to get to this final, and this is really a culmination of that process for them to celebrate their fitness.
Yeah, we are really fortunate to be part of this, really excited to be part of this event. When we first heard about it, when I first heard about the format, I love it. I love the brackets. I love what's going on here. The sort of the unknown and unknowable if you don't know who you're going to match up against. And, you know, maybe in the long run you might be fitter than this team, but maybe they got a grooved pitch and maybe they're able to knock it out of the park. But it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Unfortunately, you don't get to experience the atmosphere there with the fans, but we're hoping that they get back sooner rather than later there. But I think this is really a testament, too, to we in North America forget about how popular this sport is over in Europe and how much it has grown over the past few years.
Well, not just that, but the individual twist that each pocket community within the global CrossFit community can bring to the table as far as their own passion and you know, I got to see it in Brazil with the passion that they brought to the Brazil CrossFit Championship. I got to go to this event 2 years ago or a year ago and see how much enthusiasm there was. I mean, 3,000 tickets sold out in a matter of minutes for them to come to this event. And it's clearly something that they're very passionate about. The fitness is exploding there. I've had an opportunity to go to Barcelona where this is being hosted multiple times, train in affiliates there. And just like we said, there's a million different ways to slice this sport, and now we get to see this elimination style. And something about having teams compete against each other, and where you have to line up and you got to beat the team you're facing off with, and that's how you advance. Something about that just seems natural, right? And if we're taking this a step further, this very much mimics the international stage of competition for football, or as we in the North America call soccer. You have almost a group stage where you play multiple games, and then you get into the full knockout stage.
The quarterfinal number 1 is underway, and it is CrossFit Red Grizzly and CrossFit Four Friends going head-to-head. And it is Red Grizzly. They are on the left in the light blue tops. The CrossFit Four Friends on the other side of the floor, and they start with the 30 worm thrusters.
And right away, we get to see the communication that these teams have, as we've already seen a little bit of a struggle from Four Friends, getting a little bit out of sync. You know, anytime the worm shows up, there's a priority on communication, nonverbal and verbal, on timing, on teamwork. All of those things are ramped up. The slightest mishap on the worm can prove costly.
Red Grizzly, they are in the blue tops. The team of Adrian Magalon, Joachim Ramos, Silvia Garcia, and Aranzu Echeverria. They are taking on CrossFit Four Friends out of Villarreal, Valencia, Fabian Benito, Helena Caratala, Sarah Valera, and Fabriani Alzate.
And remember, for this standard, everyone has to be below parallel at the same time, and then that worm has to pass overhead to complete the thruster.
And as you mentioned, this head-to-head format, times to beat from prior heats don't even matter. These teams are literally competing head-to-head. Winner will move on. Now, again, there are at least 2 events here in the quarterfinal round.
And there's a strategy to that, right? If you start to pull ahead of the team that you're squaring off against, and you know, maybe you can throttle down just a little bit and you know you have a comfortable lead, you can conserve that energy because you're going to have to reload for the semifinals. And, you know, not to give too much away, but there's a nice stout final that we have coming up that has yet to be revealed.
40 synchronized box jumps here for each pair. And it looks like they have changed the format, whereas each pair needs to complete 40. Before it was 2 rest, 2 work, but all 4 teammates now working on their 40 synchronized box jump overs.
And just another way they're balancing out the total workload, as you see the teams from 77 feet and Pamplona.
Right, all 4. So there are 4 teams on the floor here. That's why it is the same format. They are resting. We apologize for the confusion, but there are 4 teams on the floor. The 2 on the left are competing head-to-head. 2 on the right, 77 feet in Pamplona, they are competing head-to-head. After this, we will only have 2 teams on the floor, but we have now the second part of this event, the 50 chest to bar pull-ups. Same rules apply. 2 athletes work, 2 athletes rest, and this is where you really got to dial in, where you make your transitions, because while those add time, obviously, and you can knock out more when you're fresh, but if you have more transitions, you're making the movement a little bit longer. Strategy, very important.
Yeah, and you also have 4 teams working on a rig at the same time. There's an element to making sure that you can find your rhythm. It's actually hard to pull up when the rig is shaking like that. You and I would both know, because we've been known to get them rumbling quite a few just from our own body weight. But anytime you can minimize transitions for the team, it's going to be a big plus. Anytime for something like chest to bar pull-ups, that's such a rhythm movement, you can rip off big sets and cut down total workload from athlete to athlete. That's always going to be a plus as well.
The matchup on the right of the screen is between CrossFit 77 feet and CrossFit Pamplona. The matchup on the left is CrossFit Red Grizzly and CrossFit 4 Friends. The teams on each side of the floor are competing against each other. Teams on the right competing against each other. Teams on the left competing against each other. We are in the middle portion of this event, the 50. Pardon me, we are now moving into the back half. This is the 40 box jump overs, the second of 2 sets. After this, then back to the worm for the final time for the 30 worm thrusters. Team action is always interesting to call when you have multiple people on the floor wearing the same thing, and I feel for the guys who do this all the time. It is a challenge sometimes, but it is a lot of fun to watch. And CrossFit 4 Friends, it looks like. CrossFit make that. The 4 Friends now on your screen. They're back to the worm for the final time. So they are leading that matchup on the right side of your screen.
And so I actually think that this looks like Red Grizzly, and they're going to be patched up with 4 Friends. So when they were doing pull-ups, they were actually facing each other. So they got to see their teammate. I believe it was the front half of the...
So the front half is competing against the back half.
So the front half is competing against each other. The back half is against each other.
Now that we have that clear. When you can see what happens there with the worm. Sometimes when you have athletes of varying heights, it just becomes, and you've been in this position, if you're bearing the brunt of that load, man, you're doing a lot more work than everybody else. And you can see the athlete in the front starting to come up on his feet a little bit.
Doesn't pay to be tall here with the worm, that's for sure.
The Red Grizzly in front, competing against 4 Friends. They're in the front of the front half of this matchup. And then the back half of the matchup is at 77 feet and Pamplona. And they are onto the worm as well. So 30 final worm thrusters.
And you could see, right, immediately what happens when you get out of sync. It's very difficult to regain that composure. And immediately what happens? The worm hits the ground. That's just so much added work you have to do to re-square the worm, pick up the worm, and get back to that position to be able to finish your thrusters.
4 Friends is in, and they will win their opening matchup against Red Grizzly. And then in the back half, 77 feet in Pamplona, unsure who won between the 2 of them. But the winning team will go up 1-0 over the other. We do know that was 4 Friends in the matchup with Red Grizzly.
That's Valentina Wrangle on your screen. She looked like she was pretty happy, so probably wouldn't celebrate unless you were winning.
So that was CrossFit 77 feet. So we'll give them 1 point here. Now after this, we're going to have a quick reset, and then we will move into the second event as we take a look at the replay. And this one was, I think, much faster than I think we anticipated. Really impressive to see the performance that these athletes put on here.
Yeah, a lot of athletes moving quickly through the synchronized movements and the box jumps. We're seeing a lot of them do like a staggered version of a box jump where they're not necessarily square, they're jumping more lateral. Quick work of the 30 chest to bar pull-ups for between 4 or 50 chest to bar pull-ups between the 4 teammates. That shouldn't be a problem. We got to see them breeze through this.
And while we have a quick reset, we want to thank one of our sponsors for today. That's Hyper Ice. Just in time for the Fittest Freakest Challenge this weekend. Hyper Ice's partnership with the Fittest Freakest is now officially live with their installation of the Recovery Zone, powered by Hyper Ice at their flagship store in Barcelona. Hyper Ice is proud to support all the incredible athletes competing this year and moving forward to give everyone in Barcelona and beyond the opportunity to get ready, recover right, and set their goals even higher with the same tech the Fittest Freakest Challenge athletes choose to perform their best. Thanks to them for all their support. Now we get ready for the second event, event 2. Now this will be a sprint snatch ladder that will have 3 different heats. We're going to have the next 2 teams that are going to go out, next 4 teams, I should say, for the quarterfinals, and then we'll get to event 2. So the next 4 teams will be Avendano taking on Artabros, Senegalia taking on C23, and it will be the same format. So now that we've been through it once, we know what it's going to look like the second time. 4 teams on the floor at the same time. The teams in front will be going against each other, and the teams in back will be going against each other. First of at least 2 events here in the quarterfinals.
Because we have a bit problems with the production.
Okay.
I think in 10 minutes I can say you if we can. I have your signal, your sound. We are ready. If you
second quarterfinal matchup, the second of 2 quarterfinal matchups. Once again, 4 teams on the floor. It's going to be Avendano and Artabros going head-to-head, and Senegalia and C23. They will be doing the exact same event that we just saw.
I see quite a few athletes that you recognize on the competition floor. A ton of talent that was competing during the CrossFit semifinals this year. Ella Wunger, 14th place at the German Throwdown. Eric Eklund, 18th at the German Throwdown. Stefano Caruso of Senegalia, 17th at the German Throwdown. Yuri Marinchenko, who actually won the first event at the German Throwdown this year. So a lot of high-level athletes competing at the semifinals now, teaming up under their affiliates and under their boxes to come throw down here the Freakest Challenge.
Some athletes that we have seen not only compete on the semifinal stage, but also some athletes in this field that we've seen compete in the old regionals format back in the Meridian days, when it was a Meridian back in Europe, when it was Europe North and Europe South, those regionals. Good to see those athletes here competing in this really unique event. And now that the second quarterfinals matchup is underway, 4 teams on the floor. The teams in the back going head-to-head, the teams in the front going head-to-head. 30 worm thrusters kick this thing off. The teams in the first matchup, C23 and CrossFit Senegalia, and then it's Artabros and CrossFit Avendano matching up.
Already C23 on your screen there, looking very smooth and comfortable with that worm.
There really is no better element in this sport to test teamwork.
Absolutely. We saw from some of the earlier heats, one minor slip up can bring the whole team down on the worm. So really that means all 4 athletes working in sync, all 4 athletes, maintaining a high level of output, tapping into those team elements like communication, nonverbal communication, rhythm and pacing, being able to throttle up, throttle down to meet the fitness level and performances of your teammates on the fly. All of those things that are so crucial in the team competition.
Teams now starting to move to the second part of this event. 40 box jump overs. 3 of the 4 teams on the floor on that movement. 2 athletes work, 2 athletes rest. Complete them however you'd like. And then after this, it's the 50 synchronized chest to bar pull-up. Same rules apply. 2 work, 2 rest.
It looks like CrossFit Officine in the front left of your screen. They're going head-to-head with Arta Bros. Arta Bros actually has a games athlete on their team, Sarah Alicia Fernandez. Fittest in Spain, 2019 and 2020. As we mentioned, a lot of talented athletes on this competition floor under this unique format.
And they have to be synchronized at the top. You saw one of the athletes stumble there. As long as the other athlete got up there at the same time and they were able to show that they're on top of the box, synchronized, that rep counted. So good way to make up for that mistake right there as they kept their composure and were able to get through it. Now team's moving on to the middle part of this event, the 50 synchronized chest to bar pull-ups. 2 athletes work, 2 athletes rest.
You see the matchup at the front of your screen, Officine versus Arta Bros. All athletes on the rig looking fairly comfortable. See a little bit of
synchronization starting to get off a little bit. And that's the problem when you have athletes of varying ranges of motion.
Yeah,
comes a little awkward.
You'll see some athletes play with their grip a little bit, widen it out to kind of shorten the lever length to be able to match up. Usually what you'll have is you have one athlete that's much better at chest to bar pull-ups and will be the one responsible with looking left or looking right, depending on where they're placed, to make sure that they're matching the rhythm of their partner. Whereas someone like myself who isn't as good, has got those long arms, I can just focus on my rhythm and they will match to me.
The C23 is on to the second round of box jump overs, and the back left of your screen, they look to win their matchup. So the teams on the left side are the ones winning their matchups right now. Remember, they are only competing against the team that is directly across from them on the competition floor here. It's a head-to-head competition. Times from prior heats don't matter. Just beat the team next to you. This is the first part of the quarterfinals. After this, we'll have a second quarterfinal workout, and in the event that a team's tie, there will be a tie break.
And if I'm C23, the crew from Senegalia just got to the box jumps and they're already moving to the worm thruster. I take a long, hard look across the aisle there to make sure I know exactly where they are and throttle accordingly, because there's no reason to pile up no reps. There's no reason to rush here. They have a significant lead. No one else to the worm.
C23 is just dominating this event. The team of Christoph Horvath, Linus Breisander, Ella Wungerer, and Erica Eklund.
And they have a very good training environment down in Palma de Mallorca. That's basically the headquarters for the program, which has athletes like Gabi Migala, Jacqueline Dahlstrom, who are individual games athletes, all run by John Christian Singleton. They've kind of built their little training environment down in the south of Spain, getting a ton of talented athletes across Europe to come and kind of build their CrossFit resumes there.
And Christoph Horvath in front there, sort of leading his team. It looked like through these final 30 worm thrusters, and they're starting to get that wave is starting to happen there, and Horvath has to take a break. Final part of this event. The second 4 teams are going through it, and then we will get to the second part of this quarterfinals matchup, and we will only have 2 teams on the floor at the same time, and there is the havoc that the worm can wreak. Just once you get out of whack there's no recovery. You got to put that thing on the ground and figure things out.
And it's almost demoralizing, right? Because if you're not the athlete that gets out of sync, you have no understanding why you're stopping. All of a sudden, the worm gets tugged out of your shoulder or something feels off. You look left or you look right, and it's almost like a cascading effect, a domino effect of once one portion falls, you have no choice but to let go of it, and it can be very frustrating.
Meanwhile, Linus Brisander has now taken over. He's in the front as Christoph Horvath has moved to the back. When we saw them last, it was Horvath in front.
It looks like Brisander is struggling to get the worm over his shoulders.
Unsure who won the matchup between the two. Well, we do know who won the matchup of the team in the front of the team on the left.
And that looks like Artebros, which would make the other team CrossFit Officine out of Italy, crossing the finish line first in this first event, getting that much needed point. Now teams will have another opportunity to level the points, which would take them to a tiebreaker. But you can see at this point, with so much time left to the cap, this is all just a drain on their ability to reload and keep going. So yeah, not only does Officine get the point, but they get more time to rest and recover for this next event, even if it's just a little bit there. And it looks like C23 is done too, which is, would be a solid point for them. But they were struggling at the end. We might have to go back and see who got the point there, because they had such a huge lead ahead, but we saw Brisander start to struggle with the worm.
Yeah, take a look at the replay, and this is C23, and they looked much better on the worm, as you would figure, when they were fresh than they did late in the event. But that's really what this entire thing came down to.
Yeah, and that's one of the unique things about the worm, right, is when you bookend it like that, you give them a little taste at the front end, then we're going to get you tired, then we're going to bring you back to the worm and figure out, all right, who doesn't have the conditioning from the upper body, pulling from all the jumping, and we're going to see we're going to find where that crack in the hull is on that team as far as the one athlete that doesn't have the same level of conditioning.
Now we will reset for the second part of this quarterfinal. The worm is going to go away, and now we're rolling out the barbells. It's going to be a sprint snatch ladder that takes place in 3 parts. It's a best 2 out of 3 format. The team that wins 2 of the 3 races will win the event. And again, in the event that the team that did not win the first quarterfinal matchup takes the second one, there will be a tie break as we figure out the 4 teams that are going to move on to the semifinals here of the Freakest Challenge from Barcelona, Spain. Thanks for being with us, everybody. We call this action from halfway across the world here in San Jose, California.
The beauty of it, right? Some action going down in Barcelona. We're across the world, still get to watch some exciting action in this really cool team format. I love a good tournament.
And we don't have to keep track of times to beat. It says, hey, who crossed the finish line first? That's who's moving on.
Hey, man, line up to the person next to you, stare them right in the whites of their eyes. You got to outduel them.
There's Lukas Hogberg.
Lukas, thank you so much for joining us tonight. How are you?
Thank you so much, too. You guys work hard, and
I mean, you were here with us last year, and we had a blast. 3,000 people. But what do you think about this new format? And what do you think about the fact that we actually did the Freakest Challenge, even if we're alone here and you're at home?
Well, it's really awesome that you guys put this on, as it's so important for us athletes to be able to compete, and you guys have done such an amazing job. And now with me living down here in Spain, but a bit further south, this is even more fun, and I'm so excited for hopefully be there next year.
And you're a high-level athlete, and you've competed individually pretty much most of your career, right? And you've done really well. We still remember the podium at the games, which was amazing, and regionals, such great moments. I don't know, have you ever considered, or have you ever actually competed in a team, as part of a team?
Yes, I have actually done that on the CrossFit Games Invitationals that was like a few years back. So the last time I did that, we won with the Europe team. So I actually have some experience in it, and it's really, really fun to compete in a team as well.
Yeah. And what do you think about this elimination round format of the Freakest Challenge? Do you actually think it's something that adds value? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's really fun, and I think it's really good, and it's just something different. And you know, like, I love to do different things and try out new things and new formats. So I think it's like a good thing to do and keep doing to have something different.
Awesome. Listen, I hope you're following from home. We would much rather have you here with us. Hopefully you can join us next year. But in the meantime, enjoy the competition, stay safe, train hard, and thank you so much for actually attending tonight in this format.
Well, thank you guys as well, and good luck with everything. And I'm cheering with all of you, and really hope I'm gonna be there for you guys next year. And good luck, everyone. Take care.
Thank you so much, Lukas. You take care, man. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Lukas Hogberg ha estado aquí en el Freakest Challenge como padrino durante varios.
Always great to hear from Lukas Hogberg.
Oh,
nice
yeah.
watching him compete at the games. Hopefully he'll get back to fighting shape. I know that this wasn't a year that he really focused on competing, but it was a blast watching him finish on the podium. That in 2018 at the games, he had his little Swedish flag up there a moment on there. Everyone's draped in theirs, and he's got that little one. But it was one of the, I think, most surprising performances at the games. I think he was in third for the majority of the competition, never fell out of the top 5.
Yeah, and it was a culmination of a few different factors for him, because in the past there had been years at the games where he was in the top 10 for a couple of days at a time, and then I think either via confidence or just maybe belief in himself, he kind of let his performance slide as the weekend got along. You know, one of the things he focused on for 2018 that year was his mental fortitude and his mental game, and then he was able to keep that performance high throughout the entirety of the weekend. And where did it land him? On the podium, something that very few people saw coming, but he brought such a passion and a charisma to the competition that year, and a little sense of humor too. He's a great follow on social media, by the way, that I think very much endeared him to a lot of fans, and it was certainly great to see him at that level and realize some of that potential, and we just hope he gets back there.
Yeah, and then winning with a tie break with Fikowski, how close that was. It was just an exciting year and a great year for Brent Fikowski and Lukas Hogberg, and really looking forward to seeing Lukas back on the competition floor, hopefully sooner rather than later, as we continue now to get set for the second event of the quarterfinals, as this will be a sprint snatch ladder that will be done in 3 different parts. The barbells now are out on the floor. So the first one will be 7, 5, and then 3 reps, 60, 80, and then 90 kilos for the men, 45, 55, and 60 kilos for the women. The first team to cross the finish line will win the heat. We'll reset, and then it'll be the second race, the 6-4-2. And then if necessary, if there's a split between those first 2, we will have the third one, the 5-3-1. And then after that, if we are tied at 1 event apiece, we will move on to a tie break.
Yeah, this is always a great format. You get the ladder format, you get barbells moving quickly, you get to have a teammate here, so, you know, who doesn't love a good conga line style lift off, a little you go, I go, let's share the load here. This is going to be fun, and we get to see some fairly moderate to moderate heavy loads, depending on your strength for the snatch overall, but it's the fastest movement as far as the barbell is concerned in fitness. And it lends itself to some really explosive finishes, even as it gets heavier, and we have to start to go below parallel.
The men will go first, and then the women. And again, the first team that completely crosses the finish line will win the race. So best of 3 here. The weight goes up, the reps go down as we work our way through the event.
And like you said, hey, if you do the work early and you win both of the first 2 races, you don't got to do the third. So very much like the first one, where you just got to make sure you stay ahead of the person next to you. You can maybe save yourself some energy going into the semifinals if you win these first 2 and maybe take a chance and push early.
And a much different test than we saw in event number 1, whereas the worm was the key to the first event, seeing how well you worked as a team. Now we're going to see how well you work as an individual.
You got to step up to the plate and blast a few heavy barbells, and hold on for dear life too.
Jordy's doing a great job out there, just holding this thing down with no crowd and no help. That is not an easy job.
And they've got a great crew out in Barcelona with Fittest Freakest. Anyone who's not familiar, Fittest Freakest is a store in Barcelona that hosts all of your favorite brands. Think of all of your favorite CrossFit brands in one location for you to get shoes, apparel, training gear. They do some awesome activations with athletes showing up, doing little seminars. Last year, they had this awesome wall in Fittest Freakest where all the athletes came and put their handprints on to kind of leave their mark from the competition in there. They did meet and greets. It's an awesome atmosphere that they have there, and it's a really cool format that they're able to put on as well for the competition.
And while we're calling the English broadcast of this, keep in mind that this is being broadcast on national television in Spain, which is why Jordy might have to be taking a little more time here to clearly explain what you're about to see so that people who may not be fully versed in everything that is CrossFit can better understand what's happening in front of them.
And that just shows the progression of this event, right? Mm-hmm. 6 years ago in 2015, this event started as a little weekend throwdown at the Fittest Freakest store, where they have a little space where you could train too. Teams would come in over the weekend and compete, and it took place over basically 4 months until they eventually got a winner. Now they get to put on a live event, and now they also get to be on live national television and broadcast the sport in their native language and expose more people to the world of fitness and to CrossFit and to everything that they do. And what more could you ask for than be able to highlight some amazing athletes and also spread the good word of fitness to a broader audience?
The athletes now starting to take the floor. It's going to be CrossFit Four Friends taking on CrossFit Red Grizzly in our first matchup. We saw Gabi Migala walking out onto the floor. Red Grizzly will be on the left. Four Friends will be on the right. Men first, women second. Red Grizzly trying to win this event to even things up. Unofficially, we believe Four Friends is ahead of Red Grizzly. They won that first matchup. So Red Grizzly needs to win this matchup in order to force a tiebreak here in their quarterfinal round.
And Four Friends is really going to lean on the strength of their individual athletes. We mentioned earlier that Fabian Benito is on their team. He was 6th place at the German Throwdown. Actually got to compete at the Last Chance qualifier where he took 16th. But he originally earned a spot at the games in 2020 through the Spanish National Championship. But we unfortunately had to realign those invites last year, so we didn't get to quite see him at the biggest stage. But Helena, another athlete who got to compete at the Last Chance qualifier just a couple of weeks ago after finishing 7th at the Lowlands Throwdown. So some athletes that are in the realm, or they're in the neighborhood of making it to the games as individuals.
3, 2, 1, time.
And we are underway. Men first, women second. Both athletes going touch and go on this opening weight. The pair from Red Grizzly, Adrian Magalon and Joachim Ramos, they're on the left. On the right is CrossFit Four Friends. As Benito is already onto the second barbell. 80 kilos, about 176 pounds.
You can see how fast he's cycling, skipping the portion where you stopped at the hip on the way down. It's going to put a little bit more pressure and a little bit more stress on the low back and the hamstrings, but at that load, with his strength level, he should be able to handle it no problem.
And Four Friends with that 1-0 lead coming into this, and Benito and Alzate looking to put some pressure on if they can win this opening heat, at least hand their women a sizable lead here. Red Grizzly does not have a lot of room for error here.
And because both athletes have to do all of the lifts, this really highlights where if you have one teammate that maybe isn't as strong, things can come to a grinding halt. We saw Benito absolutely rip those first 3, but if his teammate can't handle that, that's going to be a problem. Joachim Ramos right now, you can see he's already having to switch to a full snatch, which is a little bit slower, but it's a little bit safer in terms of making sure you get it overhead.
The men from Four Friends were done. They have to cross the finish line before the women can start. So now the women from Four Friends are on the floor as Magalon and Ramos, are still trying to finish things up for Red Grizzly.
And Ramos actually had to get his teammate Adrian Magallon to get him some chalk because his grip was slipping. Didn't bring it out onto the floor to this. So just those little nuances that you don't think about ahead of time could be costly overall.
Sylvia Garcia for Red Grizzly trying to make up some ground now on the pair of Helena Carratala and Sarah Valera for Four Friends. Remember, Four Friends does have the 1-0 lead here. This is the first of at least 2 legs here of this second event in the quarterfinals.
And Helena Carratala just showcasing how strong she is. You know, the movement of these medium-heavy barbells and how efficient they are, being able to rip out the reps, that just highlights the difference between those high-level semifinals, high-level regionals level qualifying athletes and the rest of us that are maybe quarterfinals or on the verge of breaking through in that avenue.
Sylvia Garcia now handing things off to Iranzo Echeverria. They are on the second barbell, 55 kilos, about 120 pounds.
You can see the difference, right? Where Helena Carratala just tap and go to each one, no hesitation. Echeverria has to take the second to drop the barbell, reset up, make sure she gets a full pull into it every time.
7 reps on the opening barbell, 5 reps here on the middle, and then 3 reps on the final barbell, 60 kilos on the final barbell, about 132 pounds, or 135 really.
And Valera for Four Friends had to full snatch that last barbell. That could provide a little bit of an opening for Red Grizzly to maybe catch up. You see her failing reps. This could be the opening for Red Grizzly to maybe pick up a point and send this thing to a tiebreaker.
3 reps remain for Sarah Valera. She is the last athlete on the floor for her team, and now she is struggling with that barbell. And you are right, Tommy. That is opening the door for CrossFit Red Grizzly. Now, they will get capped. There's a 4-minute cap. We have to figure out who was ahead, who had the most reps complete in that round. Remember, Four Friends had a pretty big lead going into it.
And it's possible that they both got to that final barbell. Remember, Helena Carratala got through all 3 of her reps. It just depends if Sylvia Garcia was able to get through her 3 before passing off to Echeverria. So remember, if they tie,
we have 2 to go now. Now it becomes a who's going to win these next 2.
Yeah.
We still have 2 legs to go in this race. We'll figure out who won the first one. There will be at least 1 more. And then depending on who wins that, we might have a third. And then if Red Grizzly can pull it off here, we will have a tiebreak event to find out who advances between these 2 teams to the semifinals.
And it could, and like we saw with the female athletes, it could be a matter of just getting as far as you possibly can, because that final barbell, 65 kilos for the women, we saw a couple of athletes on each team struggle with that. That's the middle barbell now that they're going to have to hit for 4.
Now the reps have decreased to 6, 4, and 2. The weight has gone up for the men 70, 90, and then 100 kilos. About 220 pounds to end with. For the women, it's 55, 60, and 65 kilos. Joachim Ramos for Red Grizzly, 23-year-old.
Ramos was the athlete that was struggling a little bit at the end with the last barbell for the men, so he's going to be the gatekeeper here as far as how well he can move these barbells as they get heavier.
Adrian Magallon is in front of him. He is on the second barbell. That is 90 kilos.
You can see the difference in the rounds now as they start to up the weight. That first cycle was everything grip and rip. Now we're immediately seeing athletes on the second barbell switch to fast singles, taking a little extra time in the setup, making sure they hit their technique points along the way.
Ramos going to a full snatch. He's able to hit his first of 4 reps on the middle barbell.
And that just looks like an issue with maybe shoulder positioning and shoulder strength, because he's got more than enough pull into the bar each time, but you saw him have to chase it a little bit forward because he was unable to stabilize it overhead, but he's still managing to get through these reps so far.
They look like they are even with the pair of Benito and Alzate on the top part of your screen, as Benito is just mauling that final barbell, and he is across.
And as was the case for the women pairing as well, for Four Friends, we had one athlete make very quick work of it, and then it comes down to the second male athlete to be able to finish.
Dr. Magalon now on the 100-kilo barbell. 2 reps he has to complete. Joachim Ramos is now stepping up on the left side of your screen to the 100-kilo bar. That is Fabriani Alzate. He is on the final barbell for the men.
Words of advice from Helena Cartala. This is, if the men get stuck here, we might not even see the women be able to, take the competition floor.
And Alzate will hit that. He has 1 rep remaining on that final barbell as Ramos is working on the 100-kilo barbell for CrossFit Red Grizzly on the other side of the floor. Now failed rep.
And Alzate's got tremendous speed in his pull underneath the bar.
He and Ramos have hit a little bit of a wall here, and you're right, the women may not even get on the floor at this point.
And now it just becomes a matter of who can get through this final barbell for the men. You can see Ramos is struggling to stay. He puts a good pull in, but he looks a little bit hesitant in getting underneath the bar.
Four Friends gets across, pardon me, Tommy. Benito and Alzate are able to get in, so they are your leaders right now in this second leg. It depends on what they did in the first leg if we're going to have a third and final heat here between these two teams.
And if I am Sarah Valera, I might hit 1 or 2 reps here, maybe 3. I would have made sure I looked over to the other side of the competition floor. And if I don't need to put in that work, maybe she's just going to use this as a warm-up for the next round to make sure she gets a couple reps there. But they don't have to do any of that work because they are ahead of Red Grizzly.
If they line up for a third time, that will tell us that we are tied at 1 apiece in this race. If they do not, it means that Four Friends got the victory in the first heat, and then they won this one as well. They clearly won this one.
And it's possible that I think they both had an athlete on the final barbell that they tied in the first round, and then Four Friends wins the second, and now they're still kind of fighting for a tie, I guess.
Keep in mind that the second barbell for the men in this third and final heat is 100 kilos, and we saw both Ramos and Alzate struggle on that. They'll go 90 kilos, 100 kilos, 110. And right now, the women are getting a lot of rest for both of these teams because they barely, at least the pair for Four Friends, barely got on the floor. They got a couple reps in before the time cap went. The female pair for Red Grizzly, they did not get on the floor at all, and we are underway in the third and final leg now. So we begin at 90 kilos on the barbell, and Adrian Magalon has not had any trouble with this weight, and Fabian Benito, he hasn't had any problems either so far in this event.
And that's the tough part when you're in these pairs type format. It's almost adding salt to the wound, right? If you're the athlete that's struggling and the other athlete isn't, well, one, because of how long it takes you to get the work done, you're giving the stronger athlete more rest. And your turnaround time, because they have more rest, is going to be shorter because they're able to attack it a little bit better. And anyone who's done maybe a Saturday's pair workout with your buddy who finds one in his wheelhouse knows exactly what that feels like.
Red Grizzly has got to find a way to win here in this final heat as Joachim Ramos is working through the 90-kilo barbell. They have to complete 5 reps here. Then it's 3 reps at 100. Ramos and Alzate both on the the first barbell, the 90-kilo barbell, about 200 pounds there. Final rep for Alzate. Very nice. He'll hit that. Benito is getting to work, as is Magalone on the 100-kilo barbell.
And even though Magalone, isn't having a problem with it, the fact that Benito is able to touch and go the reps just gives a little bit more rest to his teammate, Fabriani Alzate, just to make sure he has a little bit more runway to work with at this 100-kilo bar. Alzate has tremendous technique. Gets a good pull into it, really fast into the bar, aggressive lockout.
You saw Magalone talking with Ramos. I think Ramos might be a little out of gas here, as he was really struggling the first time with that 100-kilo barbell. Alzate has moved on to his 3 reps at 100 kilos, as Four Friends looks to put the finishing touches on an event win here, and possibly then move on to the semifinals without the need for a tiebreak.
And this is where, if Alzate can finish this barbell, I let strategy take over. I don't. Maybe Benito wants to get one just for good measure at that other bar, but I'm watching Ramos from Red Grizzly and making sure, as long as he can't get through that threshold, there's no need for us to work when we don't have to.
Once Alzate finishes up, that means that Benito can then attack the final 110-kilo barbell. Just 1 rep to do on that. You can see the event description in the upper part of your screen, the green ribbon. And Ramos is going to get that rep. So good rep now for Ramos. He has
2 left.
Looks like 2 left.
Yeah, they use a different hand count position overseas.
I always think about Inglourious Basterds. That scene.
Yeah, where they use a different version of the 3. Just such tremendous speed from Alzate.
Yeah. He gets through. Benito is going to rip his first rep at 110. So he's through as Four Friends.
And look at Benito just relaxing.
Smart. There's no reason for him to work harder than he needs to here.
I think he's already done. Remember, Benito had to use this load for the semifinal event 4, where you had to build up to a heavy snatch, and then it was max reps in the remaining time.
Boy, that did not look good there for Ramos. I'm a little worried about his shoulder integrity right there. But the pair of Benito and Alzate looks like they may have carried Four Friends on to the semifinals. We'll have to wait to the official scoring, though. Remember, if they did not win that first event, then we will have a tiebreak. But judging by what's going on the floor right now, it does look like that Four Friends has moved on to the semifinals. And they do it on the shoulders of their men, as the women don't even get on the floor there in the third and final heat.
Yeah, a ton of love and respect out on the floor here between 2 Spanish teams. So, 2 teams in their home country throwing down. More than likely quite familiar with one another, so a little bit more of a local throwdown for them.
Yeah, Benito was impressive on that barbell.
A por ellos. Los 2 últimos eran nuestros, así que hemos intentado, lo hemos ganado y contentísimos.
Felicidades, vais a semifinales, mucha suerte.
Muchas gracias.
Maybe Benito leading his team into the semifinals. Four Friends moving on, and they will await the winner of the matchup between 77 Feet and Pamplona.
We have our first semifinal athlete. There's we have a nice little bracket here they gave us to fill out.
I love it.
Something about filling out a little sports bracket, it just feels right.
I don't care what the bracket is. Like I said, give me a bracket, and I get happy. This is a great format. And I'm excited to be part of it. Really, really happy that they asked us to do this, and happy that you're here with us. Checking out what is a very cool event over there in Barcelona, Spain. And again, if you're just joining us, they were unable to have fans in the venue because of the COVID restrictions in Spain. But they are still putting on a great event here, as we are now ready for the second matchup in the quarterfinals, the second of 4 matchups that we've been watching. And we will once again go through that Snatch ladder. Best of 3 format here with these races.
Yeah, we've already seen a ton of opportunity for strategy here, because depending on what the strengths and weaknesses of your athletes are, you know, athlete placement, putting your stronger athlete first to make sure you get reps in under the time cap if you're going to get hit with the time cap, or throttling down accordingly if you have a comfortable lead over a teammate that has hit the wall. All of those things are things that these teams should be factoring in as they move, not just in this first ladder, but as the barbells get heavier in these later ladders.
77 feet. We believe they have the 1-0 lead over Pamplona after the first event. Once again, just want to mention Hyper Ice, just in time for the Fittest Freakest Challenge this weekend. Hyper Ice's partnership with the Fittest Freakest is now officially live with their installation of the Recovery Zone powered by Hyper Ice at that flagship store in Barcelona. Hyper Ice is proud to support all of the incredible athletes competing this year and moving forward to give everyone in Barcelona and beyond the opportunity to get ready, recover right, and set their goals even higher with the same tech the Fittest Freakest Challenge athletes choose to perform their best. Second matchup is underway. CrossFit Pamplona and CrossFit 77 feet. Pamplona needs to come up with the win here. The opening rep scheme, top of your screen, 753, 60 kilos for the men, then 80 kilos, then 90.
And these first couple barbells are nice and light. You'll see athletes touch and go and ripping them quickly, but it's all going to come down to those second and third ladders when things get a little bit heavier and being able to replicate that. As you mentioned, the Recovery Zone at the Fittest Freakest store. If anyone finds themselves in Barcelona or in Spain, they have to go check it out. It is worth it. Pick up some of your favorite gear. Take a walk down Las Ramblas. Get one of the most delicious desserts I've ever had in my life. Stop by one of the markets there. Get yourself a nice jamón cup, little meat cup. Phenomenal. Good eating and good fitness.
CrossFit Pamplona is on the right. CrossFit 77 feet on the left. Pamplona needs to win this event in order to force a tie break, as the pair of Francesca Garriga and Aniola Kai work through their barbells. The pair of Helena Avendano and Valentina Wrangle will be on the floor after them. We mentioned Valentina Wrangle earlier, one of the women who was actually in contention for a spot at the CrossFit Games during the Last Dance online qualifier. That is Nordi Mohan. As the women now are on the floor for CrossFit 77 feet.
No problem so far for the first couple. That's Helena Avendano. 9th in Spain in the Open.
Has a weightlifting background too. You know that's going to help her in this event.
Oh yeah, Avendano and Garriga both part of a weightlifting club in Blanes, where their 77 feet is located.
Maribel Gallardo and Elena Robles are on the floor for CrossFit Pamplona. Again, Pamplona has got to win this event in order to force a tiebreak in a third event. It's 77 feet looking to move on and join four friends in the semifinals.
No problem. Valentina Wrangle. She's actually Colombian. 5th place in the Brazil CrossFit Championships. She's also been to regionals in 2018 with the 21-15-9 team. Ton of competition experience.
Avendano and Wrangle are ahead of Gallardo and Robles right now. The pair on the left of your screen for CrossFit 77 feet are on their final barbell. Pamplona's women, they are on their second to last barbell. So 77 feet looking to take this first heat, and they are through, and they will get the win. Now the pressure really on Pamplona. They have got to win this second heat in order to keep this thing going here. Thanks for joining us, everybody, as we bring you the English commentary for the Fittest Freakest Challenge. Hope you're enjoying some fitness on this beautiful Sunday morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you may be.
Well, Sunday morning here. A little bit of fitness and a awesome setting. Like I said, you can see competition floor, little neon. neon breakfast to get you started on a Sunday.
A 1 minute reset before we take on the second leg now of this event. The reps decrease, the weight does increase, and Pamplona really has their backs to the wall now. They have got to win not only this heat, but also the final heat in order to stay alive in this competition.
You can see the crew from 77 feet. I think the only hope for Pamplona really is they have to hope that the male pairing from 77 feet hits a wall here on this heavier ladder, because the female pairing from 77 feet of Helena Avendano and Valentina Wrangle just blitzed their portion.
6 reps to open at 70 kilos, at 155 pounds. Then it's to 90 kilos and then the final 100 kilo barbell.
And this next barbell after the first one is really where it starts to get aggressive. It's a 20 kilo jump. That's 40 plus pounds, 45 pounds.
Daniel Camacho now on the second barbell for Casa Pamplona. He is through, and here comes Nordi Mohan.
The body language from Nordi wasn't great there. He kind of turned his head over like, well, let's see how this one goes. It's usually not a good sign, but he manages to stick the first one. You start to see the transition from a power snatch to a full snatch here. Hopefully, depending on what your warm-up looks like, you should be able to make that seamless, but not a good sign that 77 feet is already on the final barbell for the Pamplona crew.
Yeah, Kai just got his hands on that as Wrangle looks on. Francesca Riga will be the other athlete who will be working, but 77 feet in the lead here and looking to finish this thing off and move on to the semifinals. And now a miss for Camacho on that 100 kilo bar, and this is exactly what we saw in the last matchup where the men doing most of the work, as Camacho just has a successful rep at 100 kilos.
Nordi Mohan looked like he was hiding behind one of the banners back there. I think we saw Garriga from 77 feet miss a rep just a second ago, but his technique looked solid. It looked like he maybe just overpulled and had to let it go out of the back. Mohan's first lift here is going to tell us a lot about what the prospects are for him finishing this ladder.
And Mohan will make it. Great lift for him. Just one to go and he'll be done, as the women for 77 feet are now on the floor and they can really start driving that final nail in the coffin of CrossFit Camp Pamplona, as Helena Avendano is making quick work of that 55 kilo barbell.
It looks like Mohan just finished up on letting out Maribel Gallardo and Elena Robles.
They have to make up some ground as Wrangle is working on her opening 6 reps, and then it's 4 reps now at 60 kilos, it'd be about 135 pounds.
We're already seeing even slight variations before. So where in the first cycle we saw them go touch and go, but drop immediately from the top to the ground, putting a little bit more pressure on the low back. We're seeing the athletes now still go touch and go, but taking a moment to pause at the hip just a little bit, utilize the shelf of the leg there to make sure torso's in a good position, legs are ready to drive for the next rep.
Wrangle and Avendano are ahead of the pair of Gallardo and Robles as they are still on their first barbell. We are creeping closer to that 4-minute cap, so time running out here for Pamplona to catch 77 feet. And that'll do it. And 77 feet will make a third heat here basically irrelevant, as they have won the first 2. They won the opening event and 77 feet unofficially now, until we get the official announcement. Looks like they have moved on to the semifinals, and they'll have a good matchup waiting with 4 friends.
Yeah, we're gonna see a slobber knocker in this semifinal round between some very talented athletes, but you know they have the benefit of also only doing 2 rounds, where 4 friends. Once this becomes official, 4 friends went through all 3 of those snatch rounds, so 77 feet saved themselves just a little bit of fatigue and a little bit of extra work going into this next round. And that's one of the things I like about this knockout format is, you know, the joke is, you know, when you're outrunning a tiger, you don't have to just beat the tiger. You just have to beat the person standing next to you. And that's kind of how this is. You just have to beat the team next to you. You don't have to beat everyone else. You don't have to win it all right then and there. You just have to beat that team and make sure that you throttle accordingly.
I stole your thunder and filled out the bracket there.
Yes.
I'll let you do that.
Sorry. Hey, we'll trade them off. Yeah,
keep it fair. Next matchup will be Afetine and Arna Bros. Afetine unofficially with a 1-0 lead after event number 1. We're getting the floor reset. After this, moving on to the semifinals and the finals, it's just one event.
Very similar to the group stages. You know, we have the Euro Cup finale going on today between Italy and England. You know,
Sol Sigurdardottir.
I'm always impressed with your Icelandic.
That's the only thing I can say, but it works every single time. So thank you for being impressed as those little words. So thank you for joining us in the competition. Again, you were also in Barcelona during the Freakest Challenge. It was an absolute honor to have you here. We hope you come back next year when it's possible. But in the meantime, I wanted to ask you, you have competed individually and with teams. Am I correct? Mm-hmm. What did you like the best? What is your cup of tea when it comes to competing, individuals or teams?
For me, it's just like 2 very different things. I like both. I think I like teams a little bit more. It's just a little bit more fun. I think you need to be a little bit used to competing by yourself for liking them individual things. And I'm trying to get to that level, like being like excited to compete as an individual. It's going good. But when I see those teams on the competition floor, I'm like, damn it, like I really want to join them. Like it's just looks super fun.
It is fun. It is fun competing as a team. It's also individuals. If you're as good as you are, I know you're already good. You're going to get even better training as hard as you're doing. I had also another question. Competing as a team, competing you Sol in a team, what was the best moment in your career so far? You're still a young athlete, but as a team in your career so far, what was the best moment?
I think it was the regionals 2016. I was like very new to CrossFit, and I don't think anybody expected us to qualify. But then we qualified the 4th team out of the region in Europe, and like we knew before the last event that we actually had a chance, and if we would not like screw it up. And after that event, we were like, okay, it's like 50-50. And then everybody was on the mat and they were calling out the teams, and it was like 4th place. And we have this great picture. It's like everyone in the team was just like, what happened? Like, what happened? And then after that, we went to the games. It was the last games in Los Angeles, and that was really cool as well.
I remember that. It was fun. It was fun seeing you compete. I hope I get to see you again compete in the teams, because I love seeing the competition. So in the meantime, I'm going to hope you enjoy watching the Freakest Challenge from home. I hope you watch it until the end. You probably bet what team is going to win. But thank you so much for joining us tonight. Hopefully I'll see you again next year here live, and we get to talk about these crazy times we're living.
Maybe I'll show up with a team next year.
Let's do it. I'm going to take your word on that. Helder Sol, tack Helder för det. Vi kör oss volgande fljótlega. Bless. Tenemos también ya listos.
Sol Sigurdardottir there, joining Jordy. Jordy does a heck of a job switching languages, and I mean,
he's a renaissance.
Wow,
he is a renaissance man.
I am very impressed with how he's holding it down there in Barcelona.
He knows some Icelandic.
Unbelievable.
I mean, what can he do? I love it.
Yeah.
He's a worldly man, that is for sure.
Very impressive. I think we've gotten the floor just about reset. We're ready for our third, I should say, of 4 matchups here in event number 2. And this one will be between CrossFit Avendano and Artebros CrossFit. Avendano comes in with the 1-0 lead after that first event.
And Artebros has some talent on their crews here. Alicia Fernandez. Fittest in Spain 2 years in a row in 2019 and 2020.
First round underway, 7, 5, then 3. Men will begin 60 kilos to begin, 80 kilos after that, and then they finish with 90 kilos. Artebros is on the right, Avendano is on the left. Artebros, the pair of Matteo Scalco and Ruben Perez. Spaniard and an Italian pairing up there for Artebros. And it is the pair of Pietro Adroloni and Manfredi Ottavi, or Avendano on the left of your screen, who got to the second barbell first. 80 kilos now. 5 reps that each man needs to complete.
Tavi working on that barbell. He is a late addition. He stepped in to replace his friend Stefano Migliorini, one of the top athletes in Italy and so far.
Migliorini is a guy who we used to watch compete a lot at the old regional format. To do very well there.
And this Avendano team is a great representation of Italy. I mean, even without Migliorini, who's won the Open in that country for a few years now, you have Antea Longo, who's about to take the floor. She was first in Italy in 2021. You have Elisa Fuliano, who was third in Italy as well. So it's cool that you get this representation across multiple countries in this format here. You don't always see that in the United States because of the geographical size. So you get a nice mixture of athletes from, representing multiple flags, and you get this beautiful international feel here.
Matteo Scalco getting hit with a no rep on the third and final barbell, 90 kilos, as Artebros is in second place, as the women for Avendano are now on the floor. Antea Longo and Elisa Fuliano. They come in with the 1-0 lead after winning event 1 between these two. Fuliano stepping up to the barbell now, replacing Valentina Magalotti, who's also nursing an injury right now. Stefano Migliorini, another member of this team who's had to bow out.
But it's nice that you can be able to fill in with athletes that are more than capable.
Good to have a deep bench. And now the female pair for Artebros, they are on the floor. Sarah Alicia Fernandez and Ana Alcazar trying to catch up with Avendano and keep their hopes alive here of forcing a third and final event in the quarterfinals for a tiebreak. Artebros has got to win 2 of the 3 heats here in this matchup in order to force that third and final event. And right now they are trailing Avendano. So if Avendano can take this heat and the next, there will be no need for a third, and Avendano will join 4 friends in 77 feet in the semifinals.
You can see already Avendano has a full barbell lead over the Artebros team. So one more rep and it looks like they're going to lock up this first one.
Fuliano's done and she is in, and that means that Avendano will go up 1-0 in this best of 3 event. Very quick work made by all 6 of the barbells, by all 4 members of this team, as we will now have a 1-minute reset, and the weights will go up, the reps will go down. The men will be attacking a 70 kilo barbell, a 90 kilo barbell, and then they will end with 100 kilos, 6-4-2 on the reps. Then the women will come out. And we've seen in the past couple matchups, the women don't even get on the floor at this point. But if they do, they will be facing a 55 kilo barbell, a 60 kilo barbell, and then a final 65 kilos.
Yeah, as the fatigue starts to pour in, that middle barbell transition starts to add up, because remember, each one of these barbells is going up 10 kilos. So just a little bit more, just a little bit under 25 pounds for each barbell. And then there's a 20 kilo jump from the first barbell to the next. So you get another set of 6 reps in that first barbell, shoulders start to get fatigued, and you have a sizable jump. It just kind of throws you off a little bit. We've seen some male athletes really struggle to the point where, you know, in the first matchup, female athletes didn't touch a barbell on the second round.
Afendano can officially move on to the semifinals with a victory in this second heat of event number 2. 6-4-2 on the reps. You can see it at the top of your screen. The weight of the barbell is also in the green ribbon. And Freddie Otavi, as Matteo Scalco awaits his turn, and he is getting to work on that 90 kilo barbell.
Scalco was the one that had a couple of mishaps in that first round, particularly with the 90 kilo barbell that's going to be awaiting him. He tried to make the transition into a full snatch and had a few no reps.
Scalco's done with the first barbell. Ruben Paris moves up to the 90 kilo barbell. And Ardabros is holding steady with Afendano as both male pairs are on the second barbell. Now Afendano just about ready with 3 reps to go to get their first male athlete. It'll be Pietro Anderloni on the 100 kilo barbell.
Saw Otavi there. Keep an eye on his shoulders here. The lockout is starting to get a little wonky. This might be the point where you start to transition into a full snatch to make sure you can pull all the way underneath and get a solid lockout, and you're not chasing that barbell forward to save a rep.
Final rep for Otavi on the 90 kilo barbell. Now this is where we really started to see things change in the prior matchup. This is the 100 kilo barbell. Anderloni up first. He has no problem with that.
And you know, anytime you slap 2 big wheels on either side, you start pulling it for reps, that's when you know the workout has started to really dial up in intensity.
And he is through 2 with no problem. Ruben Paris will hit his first of 2 reps as Matteo Scalco is behind him in the red shorts. 2 for 2 for Ruben Paris, so he is through. Now Scalco moving up as Otavi, he is the second man to work on the 100 kilo barbell, and he will fight through that.
Good save by Otavi. It looked like his right arm was starting to give out and that bar was starting to come out the back. Maybe could have bailed on it, but managed to bring it back, keep it centered overhead and stand it up.
Scalco in the white shirt and red shorts will miss his rep. Otavi, closest to the camera, on the barbell now. This is his second attempt, and he will not hit that, but it does look like Afendano is 1 rep ahead right now of Ardabros. Scalco gets set for a second attempt. He has to complete 2 reps here, and he will miss that. So he has yet to have a successful lift, whereas Otavi has 1. And Otavi has now hit his second, and the men are done. And now the pair of Antea Longo and Elisa Fuliano starting to open up a lead here and put themselves on a collision course with a matchup between either Senegalia or C23 in the semifinals.
And I'm gonna sound like a broken record here, but with Fuliano, I'm looking across the way at Scalco to make sure that I'm ahead of him, because again, you don't have to necessarily do more work than is required of you, because they've already got the first win in. If they just stay ahead of Scalco here, they're going to seal the deal on this event right here as well and guarantee themselves a spot in the semifinals.
And it looks like they have done just that. So they, Avendano wins the second of a possible 3 heats here, and they will take the quarterfinals victory over Arda Bros.
And
now we have 3 of 4 teams in the semifinals. Tommy, I'll give you the honor of filling in our bracket here.
You are a gentleman and a scholar for letting me scribble this in.
And that'll bring us to the final matchup between Senegalia and C23. And just based on the names on the roster, C23 has to be, when you're eyeballing it, probably the favorite to win this whole thing.
Yeah, they have a ton of high-level experience in their ranks. Some recognizable names. Christoph Horvath, the older brother of Laura Horvath, who was technically the fittest in Hungary for the men last year, would have gone to the games as an individual, but unfortunately they had to reappropriate the games invites based on the pandemic. Ella Wunger, Erika Eklund, 2 athletes out of Europe that competed at semifinals and put together a pretty impressive weekend overall. So you have a team where back in the day, if you had 4 high-level regionals athletes, that made you a round a games caliber team. We saw some teams, perform well with much less. And so immediately, like you said, Sean, you sort of think, okay, well, if they can showcase a baseline level of teamwork, they should be able to be one of the teams to beat.
Senegalia taking the floor. They will be on the right side of your screen, and then C23 will be on the left. C23 with the 1-0 lead coming into event 2. C23 winning event number 1. Take a look at Christoph Horvath.
C23, 3 Swedes and a Hungarian. Sounds like a
beginning of a joke.
I was going to say some like 90s sitcom show.
Oh, that's pretty good too. The opening heat, 7-5-3 of the reps, 60, 80, and 90 kilos for the men, 45, 55, and 60 kilos for the women. And it's C23 looking to be the 4th and final team moving on to the semifinals if they can win this event. Linus Brasander is out first for them. He's in that backwards hat. Behind him is Christoph Horvath.
And none of these athletes muscle snatching. You can see big Christoph Horvath, one of the largest athlete in the field, having no problem basically muscle snatching all the way up. I don't think any of the men on C23 are going to have a problem with any one of these snatch barbells, seeing as both of them snatch north of 280.
Stefano Caruso for Senegalia just finished up his reps as Ella Wunger and Erika Eklund look on. And they are watching Christoph Horvath and Linus Brasander make quick work of these opening barbells. Now 5 reps on this 80-kilo barbell, and Horvath continuing to just crank away on those reps as they are in the lead is C23. And Brasander is on the 3rd and final barbell for the men. And Yuri Marchenko is also onto the final barbell, but his pace looks to be a little bit slower than Brasander and Horvath.
Well, if you go back to the German throwdown where Marchenko was competing, one of his bottom finishes was in that snatch event. So he was only able to get 3 reps at that final barbell. So as this event starts to drag on, fatigue piles in, and Marchenko is going to struggle relative to the other men in this field.
C23 has the lead as Wunger and Eklund are on the floor. That's Marta Riccotini, who is waiting to get her hands on a barbell. Wunger working through her first 7 reps. And now the women for Senegalia are on the floor. So a close matchup here in this first of a possible 3 heats.
And I think for Riccotini, it's just nice to be out on the competition floor right now, because earlier this year she suffered a pulmonary embolism in January. She wasn't going to be able to compete if the Freakest Challenge had been on the original date back in February. So with a little bit of time and healing up a little bit, she's able to, be back out on the competition floor.
Now Lewunger on the second of 3 barbells. Here comes Erica Eklund. 5 reps for her at 55 kilos. 4-minute time cap in each sprint. Eklund is through unbroken. Rucatini is on the second barbell. 1 rep to go for her. Senegalia is staying close to C23, but they have to find a way to overtake them here to win this opening heat.
You can just see the difference there. I mean, C23 has a few rep lead. That's the difference between being able to go tap and go and being able to pull fast singles. None of these athletes have had a problem getting the barbell overhead. But C23 through the first 5 barbells, including the men's first 3, were able to go tap and go throughout, and it buys them just a little bit of extra cushion.
And Erica Eklund finished for C23. They will take the opening heat, and they can end this thing with a win in the second heat. And then they will move on to the semifinals. The C23 won event number 1 between the two of these, and that was the worm event that we saw earlier. We'll have a 1-minute reset. The weights will now get heavier, and it will be 6, 4, and 2 on each barbell for the men and the women.
And the men from C23 have to be licking their chops there. They saw that they were able to put some distance between them and the Senegalia crew in that first ladder, and knowing that it's only going to get heavier, it's only going to benefit Horvath and Linus Braysander, Braysander's got a 140 kilo snatch. That's, I mean, we're talking 3 bills and change now for the barbell, and that means he's going to have no problem making it through even the 100 kilo barbell at the back end of this ladder.
And in the 3 prior matchups, this is the heat where on a handful of occasions we haven't seen the women even get onto the floor, and if they do, it's only for a couple reps here and there. Second heat underway at C23 with the 1-0 lead in this event right now. They win this heat, they move on to the semifinals. Braysander out first for C23, and it's Yuri Maranchenko who leads the way for Senegalia. Now Christoph Horvath making quick work of these 6 reps.
Look at Horvath's hand position. So earlier in the first round, his hands were a little bit more narrow because I think he was just trying to rip and punch out overhead in one smooth muscle snatch, when he's actually starting to have to put some work in technique-wise, and it's not just a grip and rip scenario. With the lighter barbell, you see him move his hands out where he could be able to catch it and do a full snatch if need be.
Christoph Horvath now on the second barbell. 4 reps here at 90 kilos. You can see the event description in the green ribbon on the top of your screen. Yuri Maranchenko was 14th place in the German throwdown this year. Hands things off to Stefano Caruso. They are on the same barbell as Horvath and Braysander, but the pace is just not as fast. Horvath is already through his first of 2 reps here on that 100 kilo barbell, as Ella Wungerg and Erica Eklund will take the floor next, as Horvath and Braysander have no problem with that 100 kilo barbell. Here come Wunger and Eklund.
Now, outside of a little bit of extra effort to stabilize that last rep, that looked like a walk in the park for the C23 crew.
Wunger and Eklund really opening up a lead here, as the pair of Yuri Maranchenko and Stefano Caruso are still on the floor for Senegalia. Caruso just finishing up his second of 2 reps at 100 kilos, and that will bring out Rucatini and Zagaglini for Senegalia. But they have a lot of ground to make up here.
And that, that's sometimes how the cookie crumbles here, where CrossFit Senegalia has actually been doing much better than some of the other teams in this ladder in this second round.
That's a really good point.
But they're just walked into, the
bad draw.
Yeah, the buzzsaw of C23. It's, an immovable object runs into an unstoppable force. Sometimes it's just the luck of the draw, and you get 2 powerhouses going into early, not to lean too heavily on sports tropes, but sometimes you think the championship round happens even earlier based on the matchup. But either way, a good matchup between these 2 teams.
Zagaglini just finished up on the first barbell. Marta Riccatini will get to work on the second, as the pair on the left of your screen, Erica Eklund, who is lifting right now, she and Ella Wunger are well ahead of the Senegalia team. And now Wunger moving to the final barbell, 65 kilos, as Riccatini continues to work through the second of 3 barbells. And she and Zagaglini have to put on a furious charge here if they want to force a third heat and keep their hopes alive of moving on to the semifinals.
I mean, that's beautiful technique from Zagaglini, but it's just unfortunate that you look across the aisle and Ella Wunger ripped all 3 in a power snatch, and then Erica Eklund is basically wrapping up their final rep.
They got through. That's the first time I think we've seen all 4 athletes get through the second heat of this event. And C23, they will move on to the semifinals, and they will have a matchup with Afficine. And now remember, in the semifinals, it is just one event, unlike the quarterfinals where we had possibly as many as 3, depending on what happened in those first 2 events. So now things really start to get serious as Christoph Horvath congratulates the team from CrossFit Senegalia, but it's going to be Horvath and the team from CrossFit C23 joining Afficine, 4 Friends, and 77 feet in the semis.
And you heard it in the team announcement interview when we got to see the introduction at the start that the crew from C23, they talked to the coach, Don Christian Singleton. They said, what are your goals? And he said, well, one of them is to dominate. And so far, they're holding good to their word because they breezed through that round of snatches on the second ladder.
And that you would actually take the whole thing.
We are confident in our preparation, not that in whatever has been said. So we're just ready to go out there, trust in the training that we've been doing, and then perform to the best of our abilities as a team together.
I mean, it definitely, like, working as a team definitely is the key, ladies. Ella, Erika, thank you for joining us tonight. It's, you know, it is important to come here and perform. You have a team in the semifinals, CrossFit for Friends. These guys have already won the challenge once. This is your first time in the challenge. How does the atmosphere without crowd feel, and how does it feel to be competing again?
It's really nice competing live in this place. It's very cool. It's good atmosphere.
It is. It's better to see you. But, and Erika, how about if you were to win this? How would it feel?
I would be very happy.
Yeah. Happiness is what we're looking for. Linus,
yeah.
You will feel the same way if you won?
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Absolutely. These guys want to win it. They will probably win it unless CrossFit for Friends en las semifinales consiguen pararles. Estos chicos van muy fuertes. Thank you. Good luck. See you in the semifinals.
C23 looking very impressive in their matchup with Senegalia. They're in the quarterfinal round, but now they will move on to the semifinals. 4 teams remain. We began with 8. Those 4 teams are C23, from whom we just heard, Afficine, 4 Friends, and then 77 feet. And we will reset for event 3 as they're bringing out the bikes. It's going to be the road trip will be the name of the event. We're going to have calories on the bikes, calories on a rower, wall balls, and then some synchro muscle ups. So this will be a pretty fun event to watch, as once again we're going to work as individuals and pairs, and then they will come together to do some synchronized muscle ups there at the end of the event.
Yeah, and I'm kind of bummed that, you know, we got to see some exciting races here, but we didn't get to see the tiebreaker. You know,
Yeah.
Last year when I was, you know, in Barcelona in person, we got to see a tiebreaker, which was a basically last person standing of unbroken double unders, which was crazy exciting, way more exciting than I thought it could be. And it turned out to be a fantastic show. But hey, 4 quarterfinal matchups, 4 clean, flawless victories, if you will.
Mm-hmm. And this is an event, too, where you really have to think that had there been a crowd on hand, that whenever you're rolling out heavy barbells, that atmosphere, having people there always does come into play.
Oh, yeah. And considering what I know about the way the crowd was last year, with the Buttery Bros running around firing T-shirt
Whose
cannons.
idea was that to give those guys any sort of projectile?
They were walking. Yeah, they were walking fire alert, basically. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. The Snatch event, especially when we saw a few athletes start to struggle, the environment starts to pick up, the crowd starts to light up. There's an electricity in the air, and it really lends itself to being able to pull just a few extra kilos, a few extra pounds out of the back pocket.
Jordy getting everybody set for the next event. Event 3, once again, is the road trip. And we'll just take you through it right now. It is for time, 70 calories on the rower and a 70-calorie bike. And then 3 rounds of 30 wall balls, synchronized, both the men and the women working in separate pairs. And then 5 synchro ring muscle-ups that all 4 teammates must complete together. We take a look at the updated bracket. 4 friends and 77 feet. They are on the left side. The first semifinal matchup, and then Avendano and C23, CrossFit 23. C23, that is, on the right side. So the winners of those matchups will move on to the finals, and then we will have one final event that was programmed by Mat Fraser himself.
Yeah, I mean, the 5-time champ steps out of the competition arena and steps into just dropping a dirty test for all these teams to throw down in. But, you know, we get to see some of the monostructural implements brought in here with the row and the bike. And then now a little bit of synchro action added in both as pairs and as a set of 4. We actually got to see, you know, the 4-person synchro muscle up. We got to see that at the 2014 Invitational, which happened to be one of the first invitationals that we had. It was the only one we had in San Jose, just up the road from us here. That was our introduction to BKG.
Right.
He was paired up, I believe, with Jonne Koski that year, maybe Lukas Hogberg as well. And we get to see some of those elements that we've seen in CrossFit competition before start to make their way and filter out to the community, which is one of the benefits of programming it in this arena, in this space.
And sort of a similar format to what we got to see firsthand at the Mid-Atlantic CrossFit Challenge, where the athletes work separately and then they sort of come together and work together as a foursome after working separately.
We got that workout, the Megazord, talking about, you know, the Power Rangers or Voltron, or, you know, you name your cartoon and your toy, where basically they get to work separate, then they come back together as a team. And we get to see a little bit of it sprinkled in throughout this one as well. The rower and the bike, you just got to get to 70, get them to 70. You get a little bit of control as far as how you choose to split that up. Then everybody's got to be able to rip out some muscle-ups and some wall balls.
And here is the matchup. CrossFit 4 Friends on the left. CrossFit 77 feet on the right. The winner of this head-to-head matchup will advance to the semifinals, and they will await the winner of the matchup between Avendano and C23. C23 looked downright dominant in their matchup with Senegalia that we saw earlier.
Yeah, and you're going to have to see a little bit of communication for these muscle-ups. You're seeing the head judge cue them that they have to be lockout at the same time. That's going to require one athlete to be able to look down the line, make sure everything's good, be the person calling it.
And there is the event. One more look at it. 70-calorie row and a 70-calorie bike. All the athletes have to complete that. Then 3 rounds in pairs. 30 wall balls that are synchroed. 30 pounds for the men, 20 pounds for the women. 5 synchro ring muscle-ups. They have to do those as a foursome.
Time cap 10 minutes. This is going to be quick.
Jordy taking the athletes through what they will be facing one more time before they get things going here.
And remember, it's a heavy wall ball. 30 pounds for the men, 20 pounds for the women. This is I don't want to say the time cap's aggressive per se, but it's not just an easy cruise underneath the time cap type event.
De wall balls y la dominación en anillas sincronizada. El equipo tiene que
hacer. From CrossFit 4 Friends getting set. Taking on CrossFit 77 feet for the right to advance to the finals. 77 feet right there. The team of Francesca Gabriga, Daniela Kai, Helena Avendano, and Valentina Wrangle. CrossFit 4 Friends, Fabian Benito, Helena Caratala, Sarah Valera, and Fabriani Alzate.
Atletas en posición, jueces en posición, semifinal 1 del Freakest Challenge 2021 por un puesto en la
got a little family action on the 4 Friends team. Fabian Benito and Sarah Valera actually married. Have a have a child, so they got a little that familial connection.
Woo! That is an aggressive pace that I would not recommend keeping for any long period of time on an assault bike.
That is, I mean, he's trying to chew into that immediately.
Benito might break that thing. But he goes all out, and then he will hand things off.
And that's the benefit, right? Like, these assault bikes, you can get those RPMs and that wattage up nice and high. Look, they're already close.
Valentina Wrangle working on her 70 calories for her team. Switch off however you want. You just have to amass 70 calories on both machines. And this is the only time during this workout that they need to attack these two implements. Then it's on to the 3 rounds, really the crux of the event, of the wall balls and then the synchro muscle ups. All the movements, I should say, rather, are synchronized in this event. There's Sarah Valera on the rower for CrossFit 4 Friends. Winner take all in this event. Spot in the final matchup awaits the winner of this first of 2 semifinal head-to-head battles that we will be watching here at the Fittest Freakest Challenge. Thanks for being with us here, everybody. Sean Woodland and Tommy Marquez. Happy to provide the English commentary for this broadcast. Wish we could be there in person, but next best thing, hanging out on a Sunday morning and watching some of the best athletes in the world throw down in some pretty cool events.
We're there in spirit. We're in Barcelona in spirit.
No question. 77 feet. Working another transition on the bike as Helena Avendano is now on there. 70 calories on each they need to complete. Just short, quick bursts from each team member here for CrossFit 4 Friends as Benito just got off the bike. I thought he was going to break that thing when he jumped on it.
Yeah, he really got that thing going to start, and beautiful transitions between him and Helena Cartal. You see Benito actually let the movement of the pedal pop him up off the seat. He lets it go. Helena Cartal able to hop on while the turnover is still carrying over with the pedals and jump right into it with no drop in pace.
Aniola Kai for CrossFit 77 feet on the right of your screen is just about done with their 70 calories as CrossFit 4 Friends, they have moved on to the synchronized wall balls. 3 rounds now of 30 wall balls synchronized between each pair.
And it looks like they
have changed this now.
Yeah.
So there's just 1 wall ball per partner.
Ooh, a little catch. Having a catch, Sean.
Not bad. That ball did not hit the target, so a no rep there for CrossFit 77 feet.
This is just a little bit of a nuance that I think is going to shake things up just a touch. We saw a couple no reps from teams already. Having to not just shoot a heavy ball to a target, but at a slightly different angle. Do a little field geometry, if you will.
Very close to your screen is Helena Avendano and Valentina Wrangle. Wrangle, we mentioned, was in contention for an individual spot at the CrossFit Games after a couple of events in the last chance qualifier. She was inside the top 5, but unable to punch inside the top 2, but still a great performance for her. That's Aniola Kai and Francesca Garrega.
And she still managed to finish 8th overall amongst a very deep last chance qualifier field. Wrangle had her 2 best finishes of the weekend in that first day, a 4th and 8th.
4 Friends, they are already on to their 5 synchronized muscle ups at 77 feet. All 4 of their athletes are there now as well. And remember, they have to be synchronized on the lockout. And 4 Friends are done. Back to the wall ball for 30 reps shared between the 2 athletes. And 77 feet, they are done. They have a chance to maybe reel in 4 Friends here. Remember, the winner moving on to the finals.
This is what you hope to see in this type of format, right? If it's winner moves on, you hope that there's a close race, especially as you start to filter out teams in the semifinal. You know, both of these teams hanging tough, and man, it might come down to that final set of muscle-ups.
Garriga and Akai working through their wall balls, 30 reps on the other side in the all-black shirts, Fabian Bagnato and Fabriani Alzati. Alzati in that backwards hat. They are done, as are Garriga and Akai, and they will wait for their female counterparts. And then it's 5 synchronized ring muscle-ups and 77 feet. They are to the rings just ahead of Forefriends, so they were able to make up that deficit. So 77 feet pulling even. And now all 8 athletes basically synchronized together as we are neck and neck here in the second of 3 rounds of these 2 movements.
I'm not going to lie, that looks awesome. All 8 of those athletes just swanging.
Shaking that rig, loosening the screws. Final round here, 30 wall balls between each pair, and then those final synchronized 5 muscle-ups. So this one's going to come down to this 3rd and final round, and we have ourselves a really good race here in this first of 2 semifinal matchups between CrossFit Forefriends and CrossFit 77 feet.
And this is where any sort of no rep could be costly. Last time, it was the female pairing from Forefriends that actually held up the pace there. They had to wait for them to finish a couple of reps. The men were already done. So as we just see a no rep.
And now Wrangle and Helena Avendano have to collect that wall ball as it started to get away from them a little bit.
Yeah, you see Sarah Valera drops it again. The ball hits the ground. Fatigue starts to set in, and it gets really easy to get off kilter here, especially when you're shooting in such an awkward angle, something you're not used to doing. Typically, when you're passing the ball back and forth like this, it's after big individual sets each, and one's just stepping out of the way. Very unfamiliar territory for this team.
The Forefriends, their men were done first, and now we're to the rings at exactly the same time. Final 5 reps here in this event, and they are neck and neck. Winner moving on to the finals. Oh, and now struggling on the walkout, and that could open the door for 77 feet, and they are going to take it. So 77 feet on the final round of muscle-ups is able to pass Forefriends, and 77 feet will move on to the finals. What a race between these 2 teams. And as you said, no reps and small mistakes make the difference, and they did right here.
Oh, you can see Jordy's face right there. We were like mirror images of each other. It came down to that final rep, and Valera struggled with a little bit of the lockout on that final rep, and one of her teammates thought she got it, came down to get the no rep. 77 feet, who was maybe a second or so behind, holds on for that final rep, knowing that the other team had dropped, and we get this, I don't want to call it an upset, but you have, Benito, Cartala, both top 10 athletes in their semifinal. They're out. It's crazy. One mistake like that, and that's the difference. Like your day is over, and wow, I mean, we just got a prime example of why this format is so exciting.
And after that first round, it looked like CrossFit Forefriends, they had I don't want to say sizable, but they had a pretty decent lead going into the second round of that event, and then 77 feet was able to slowly eat away. They were able to catch them even on that second set of muscle-ups, and then, as you said, the exciting race there on that third and final set of muscle-ups. And 77 feet will await the winner of our next matchup in the finals. It's going to be Afficine taking on C23. We already saw maybe one upset. Maybe Afficine can pull off another here.
I hope the other teams were paying attention and watching at how the communication for the wall balls went, and especially those muscle-ups, because one slight miscommunication on that final muscle-up, and then athletes really getting uncomfortable with the handoff between the wall ball was the big difference maker, because we saw Forefriends lose time for the female athletes on the wall ball and lose time on the muscle-ups both.
Yeah, can't let that wall ball hit the ground and start rolling away from you. It's valuable time.
The team elements playing a big factor.
Yeah. Quick reset, and then we will be ready for the second And final semifinal matchup between Officine and C23. C23, of course, we saw them in the prior event just put on a dominating performance. Looking to continue that here in this event. A different event, though, no barbells, as that's where we saw the pair of Fraser and Horvath really excel.
And they're both, Fraser and Horvath are both larger athletes. They are going to have a blast on the machines here with the assault bike and the rower. And they should have no problem with this heavy wall ball, being taller athletes as well and strong strong enough below parallel with plenty of gas tank. But the question is, how will they handle the synchronized muscles? That's the only thing that looks to be a potential hiccup for them.
Officine will be on the left of the floor. C23 will be on the right. The winner taking on 77 feet for the overall victory at the Fittest Freakest Challenge.
Ooh, man, I'm still coming down for that last race.
That was a great race.
Bit.
They've been doing some, the majority part of me doing some great job there. Keeping everybody at home updated is what's going on. We once again want to thank Hyperice, just in time for the Fittest Freakest Challenge this weekend. Hyperice's partnership with Fittest Freakest is now officially live with their installation of the recovery zone powered by Hyperice at that Fittest Freakest flagship store in Barcelona. Hyperice is proud to support all of the incredible athletes competing this year and moving forward to give everyone in Barcelona and beyond the opportunity to get ready, recover right, and set their goals even higher with the same tech the Fittest Freakest Challenge athletes choose to perform their best. And very familiar with Hyperice over here in North America with some of the partnerships they have with some of the premier sporting leagues.
The NBA, the NFL, a ton of big name athletes utilizing it for their recovery. Highly recommend you go check out that recovery zone, the flagship store. Barcelona is absolutely beautiful. I actually had the opportunity to visit it back in 2017. We were in Europe for Martian Sawyer's 30th birthday. Jordy invited us out, had us there. We did a little tour and meet and greet at the store. And then he was basically our personal guide throughout Barcelona, just highlighting the hospitality that they have and the atmosphere and environment that surrounds the community there. They welcomed us with open arms, and they showed us a great time. And we got some good food, good fitness. And I would highly encourage anyone who is thinking about traveling over to Spain and getting the opportunity from this side of the pond to go check it out.
Erica Eklund and Ella Wunger adjusting their rowers in their rings, making sure everything's good, and having a chat with her judge. Eklund was 18th place. He's on the left at the German Throwdown semifinals, one of the semifinals events for the CrossFit Games. 11th in her country in the CrossFit Open. And she and Ella Wunger, a formidable duo here.
And they're part of a very deep and quickly improving Swedish contingent of women. I mean, you go to the German Throwdown, their semifinal alone, you had 6 athletes. And that's not including Camilla Salomonsson-Hellman, who had to bow out of the competition beforehand. And Salomonsson-Hellman, a perennial games athlete. You have some of these Nordic countries, Sweden in particular, seeing some vast improvements. Eklund being part of it, Emily Lundberg, Ella Wunger, Hanna Karlsson, Becca Widdesen, Emma Tall, who's now qualified for the games.
And if you're just joining us, this is a pretty unique format. It is a bracketed sort of knockout format. Head-to-head matchups, winner moves on. We are in the semifinal round. Just one event in the semifinals. We had as many as a possible 3 in the quarterfinals. We only needed 2 of them for the 8 teams here. We are now down to 3 teams of 77 feet. Just punched their ticket to the finals, and they await the winner of the matchup we are about to see between Officine and C23. I love the format. It's a lot of fun, and I can see how this would be an event that would be a blast to be at.
100%.
In the event, if they were able to have fans, they did a couple of years ago when you were there. Again, the restrictions in Barcelona, unfortunately, do not allow them to have fans in the building, but they are broadcasting this on national television in Europe, and they've already brought in some athletes. We heard from Mat Fraser. We heard from So Sigurdardottir, we heard from Lukas Hogberg. He's watching. So really a worldwide affair here that the Fittest Freakest puts on.
Yep. And C23, you see on your screen, they beat a team from CrossFit Senegalia, an Italian team. They had two events earlier that they went head-to-head, beat them in both. Now they're here. One more event, and they can be in the finals if they manage to beat out Officine, who beat Artebros, which is a Spanish team.
Really looking forward to seeing Christoph Horvath test the structural integrity of that assault.
Or the rower, either one. He's going to make...
And the rig.
Yep.
CrossFit Officine, just saw them. They are going to be on the left of your screen as Jordy gets set to start the official timer. And Jordy's doing everything. I said it for Mat Fraser once, but I'll say it for Jordy. What can't this guy do?
Oh, there's not much. He was speaking Icelandic earlier in his interview with Sol Sigurdardottir. I think he knows like 4 or 5 languages. I'm pretty sure he can play piano and open up a Michelin star restaurant if he wanted.
We are underway. 70 calories total on the rower and the bike. After that, the athletes will split up into same-gendered pairs, and they'll do 3 rounds of 30 wall balls split between the 2 of them, and then 5 ring muscle-ups. Those are done. The muscle-ups are as a foursome. They have to be synchronized, and as we saw in the last matchup, those can really make a difference.
In the previous matchup, it came down to the final round and the final set of muscle-ups. One athlete getting out of sync on those muscle-ups is all it took to knock the crew, the very talented crew from 4 Friends out and open up the door for 77 feet, who capitalized.
Erica Eklund and Ella Wunger on the machines. And now here comes Linus Braysander on the rower for C23. Christoph Horvath will be getting ready to jump on the assault bike. Antea Longo rowing for Officine. And it's Pietro Andreloni who is on the assault bike, and here comes Christoph Horvath.
That is a very fast pace, and he looks very calm and collected here. This is one of those movements, the assault bike, where being the heavier, bigger athlete can really benefit you. You can lean your body weight into those pedals and into the handles each round and leverage that force into keeping higher wattage and a higher RPM.
Officine with Manfredi Ottavi on the rower. They're about ready to close out their 70 calories. There's Ottavi. Man who was replacing Stefano Migliorini on this team. Migliorini out with an injury. Now Erica Eklund on the rower for C23. The only Swede on the squad.
Just to show you how deep Sweden is, she was 11th in Sweden in the Open, but she was 18th place in the German throwdown. So 11th in your country, and then you combine things together across Europe, and you only lose a few spots on the leaderboard. It just goes to show you how deep the Swedish contingent is.
Ella Wunger with 3 calories to go on the assault bike. As C23 is trying to move on to the finals where they will meet 77 feet. Now final calories for CrossFit Officine. Tavi is on the rower. Pietro Andreloni is on the assault bike.
You hear a little punk rock in the background.
Little pop punk, not bad.
Little homage to their venue, where the event's taking place currently, is the local favorite for some punk rock.
That does look like a
action.
good venue to see a show.
Oh yeah,
just about the perfect size. Christoph Horvath is just about done with his assault bike, and then he will join Linus Braysander on the wall balls, and it's the team from Officine, the foursome there. They're onto the wall balls, well ahead of C23. 30 wall balls now. 3 rounds of 30 wall balls shared between both athletes, and then 5 synchronized muscle-ups. So Officine with the lead in this first round, but as we saw in the last matchup, where 4 Friends had the lead early, that did not hold.
And it looks like Officine having a little bit better time with the wall balls so far. We saw the females from Four Friends struggle with this slight adjusted angle of playing catch with a wall ball. So far, they haven't had a problem with it.
Longo and Fuliano are done with their 30, and they will await Anderloni and Otabe as Afficine, they are onto the rings. Horvath and Braysander are working on their wall ball. So Afficine with a really good lead here, and they are looking at pulling off the upset, but we still have 2 rounds to go of this event. And they are through their 5 synchronized muscle-ups and back to their second round of wall balls. And C23, they need to pick up the pace here a little bit.
Yeah, they're...
And Horvath just dived out of the ring, so he missed the rep. They are not done. This is huge for Afficine.
Similar thing that we saw with Four Friends, where one athlete missing the rep or jumping off of the rings earlier is a...
And now another no rep for C23. They are coming apart here in this opening round. Afficine is your leader. And who saw this coming? C23, they are in a deep hole here in the second of 3 rounds as the team from CrossFit Afficine, they are almost ready to get back to the rings.
And I mean, I don't want to say it's impossible, but right now that you're looking at an 18 to 20 rep lead on the wall balls alone. That's Afficine has shown no signs of slowing down, and that may be the nail in the coffin for C23.
And very smart here from them. They are all facing each other to prevent what we saw earlier, where some of the athletes for C23 did not see Horvath fail a rep, and it took them a little more time to get things situated and back up on the rings. And Afficine is running away with this matchup. And now it's C23 back onto the rings. But just Afficine can just avoid a disaster in this third and final round. It's looking like they will join 77 feet in the finals.
Well, what's interesting was Horvath was facing the rest of the team. So in the very least, he was the athlete that should have stayed up and could have seen the rest of the team and where they're at. He was the end cap athlete facing inward. He had the line of sight for everyone else on the team.
They are now through is C23, their second of 3 sets of synchronized ring muscle-ups, and they are back to the wall balls, but they may not have enough time here because Afficine has been very smooth throughout this entire event, and they have just 4 reps to go to the women on the wall balls. The men are done. The women are finished, and Afficine has 5 synchronized muscle-ups standing between them and a matchup in the finals with 77 feet. Two reps to go.
Good patient muscle-ups. You can hear the call from their captain athlete, making sure that everyone hits the lockout. No point in rushing these. They have a sizable lead.
And that is it. Afficine with the upset of C23, and Afficine moves on to the finals where they will face 77 feet. And for the second straight time, it's what happens on the rings that makes the difference. We talked about Christoph Horvath. He wasn't able to lock that rep out, sort of came out the front and had to hop off the rings, and the rest of his team did not see that, and that cost them precious seconds as they were just unable to catch Afficine. Afficine opening up a huge lead there and hanging on to it, and they are going to the finals.
Precision of execution makes all the difference when you have a 4-person synchronized movement, especially with the muscle-ups. You could see Christoph Horvath signaling there that he kind of fell through the rings a little bit. As a fellow heavier athlete myself, sometimes you get a little bit forward in the dip catch. The rings just give way, and you have to bail to save your shoulder, and that's all it took for Afficine to capitalize and walk away with a spot in the finals.
To actually beat the guys that won the qualifier and that were performing so well in this final.
Very good feeling. And so from Italy, I think they will have a look at us instead of football.
Yes. Everyone's looking at football, but definitely with what you did, you deserve a spot in the final.
Thank you very much.
Against 77 feet, what do you expect? How do you see them performing in the final, and how do you expect to perform yourselves?
Obviously, they will be very angry for the victory because they won the previous years. So they want to make 4 in a row. But we are angry as well, and we want to perform at the best of our possibilities to try to win this year.
What was the key moment in this event for you to win it?
I think ring muscle up were the key, and I'm happy that we well managed it, and that was the key, and we definitely nailed it.
Guys, congratulations! All the best of you. Also, best of luck for the final. Win it if you can. Absolutely. Good luck. Good luck. Los chicos de CrossFit.
This is going to be fun. 77 feet and Officine in the finals in an event that was programmed by Mat Fraser.
Oh boy.
We're going to bring the worm back out. We're going to do a little DT worm action, but we're going to just, throw some burpees over the worm in there too, just for good measure, because, worm DT just isn't enough.
Why not? Because you know what? Mat Fraser is going to make you work.
Couldn't be simpler.
Because hard work pays off, Sean. Couldn't be simpler. You're a fan of fitness.
He's like athletics. This has been a fun event to watch so far, and 2 upsets in the semifinal round. First, it's 77 feet that is able to overcome an early deficit. They knock off 4 friends. They move to the finals, and then in the matchup between Officine and C23, it's Officine taking advantage of a C23 mistake. And Officine moves on to the finals, where they will face 77 feet for the championship here at the Fittest Freakest Challenge, as just 1 event remains.
I'm going to call this a little legacy matchup. 77 feet, the team that has been participating since the first edition in 2015 versus Officine, the first box that opened up in Italy. I'm going to call this the matchup of the OGs.
Some barbells on the floor.
We have a little twist on our hands.
Vale, pues nos plantamos en la finalísima.
Jordi decides to take us through this event one more
La
time.
primera final adaptive de la historia aquí en el Freakest Challenge, con un ejercicio complejo, evidentemente, como lo son todos aquí en el Freakest Challenge.
Before we do the team event, we will have the adaptive athletes who competed earlier in the broadcast, the part that we were not part of, but they will be out on the floor. So we're going to give the teams a break, and then the adaptive athletes are going to come back out as they have been a part of this competition. And it's great to see that they have a very inclusive community over there in Europe, and that the adaptive athletes are going to be part of this, and we'll get to see them throw down. Jordi even doing the social media too. I mean, this guy's in charge of everything.
Oh, man. He's Mat Fraser. You name it, social media, live stream, interpreter.
Might join one of the teams and throw down a little bit.
I'm not gonna lie, that's awesome. I love this. I love this live feed phone.
This is good stuff.
Y los primeros que las respondan se llevarán estos relojes G-Shock y Metcon 7. Así que apuntad Mat Fraser y después de la final Adaptive hacemos el sorteo.
Adaptive final coming up.
La final
they were introduced right before the team athletes here, if you've been with us for the entirety of the broadcast.
Clean and jerk y 30 double unders. Tenemos las barras ya presentadas aquí en
Clean and jerks and double unders.
En la pista y tenemos a los atletas que van a salir. Ni más ni menos que Serafín, Julián, Miguelito, Marta Romero, Paula, Gina y Sara, que son los atletas.
This is something too that I'm definitely looking forward to seeing at the CrossFit Games coming up here in a couple of weeks. So the adaptive athletes will be competing on the same schedule as the age group athletes, and that's another thing I'm super happy about, is that schedule has moved back to the way it used to be, to where the age groups got the stage all to themselves. So they'll be competing Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Now there is an individual event on Wednesday. Teams will get going in there as well. They might have an event. But love the fact that the spotlight will be squarely on the adaptive athletes and the age groups.
Yeah, we've seen the formal inclusion of adaptive athletes in the sport for the first time, being part of the Open, now being a part of the Games. You can see it here at the Freakest Challenge. We're seeing adaptive athletes from all walks of life.
And this is what happened earlier here.
And these athletes really just highlight the perseverance of the human spirit, whether it's a spinal cord injury, whether it's, a visual impairment, whether it's cerebral palsy. I mean, there's a ton of different athletes that have competed, not just here, but also in Wadapalooza and the adaptive scaled seated, but really highlighting the full breadth of what this training methodology and this fitness can do for athletes to give them happier and healthier lives.
We saw the adaptive athletes on the floor earlier before the main broadcast began. That is Jose Arian Fernandez, Alex Morente Avielas. There's also a visually impaired athlete that we saw earlier. He was the man in the yellow top. That's Carlos Julian Bruscantini. The wide variety of adaptive athletes who will be competing here. 3 rounds of 9 hang power clean and jerks and 30 double unders. So Bruscantini, the visually impaired athlete, being escorted out onto the floor.
Carlos Bruscantini.
You think back to what we saw earlier, a couple weeks ago, one of the adaptive athletes here in the United States that we know very well, Logan Aldridge, clean and jerking 225 with one arm.
And I think it highlights the growth of not just the sport in the like what we would consider the individual or traditional divisions, but as the sport grows outwardly to be more inclusive, we get to see these tremendous performances from the adaptive division. One of the Nike athletes that has been in support of this event, Steph Roach, formerly Steph Hammerman. One of the moments that really, I think, helped put the adaptive divisions on the map was, her getting to compete in Wadapalooza for the first time. Now we get to see it here.
And Steph is someone who has been tenacious in her efforts to open things up to adaptive athletes, get adaptive athletes more inclusive, do things that just are better for people with disabilities on college campuses. I mean, she's really been a great advocate, and it's awesome to watch her compete at these various events. This is the standing division. It's going to be 3 rounds of 9 power clean and jerks and then 30 double unders. And that is Carlos Julian Bruscantini, who is Argentinian, and he is visually impaired, and he is an educator for people with disabilities. And this is something I think people are really going to get behind when we see it live with fans in Madison, Wisconsin here in a couple of weeks. Can't wait to see what that's going to look like.
100%. To see we've had some variations from showcases at the games in the past, but for the first time we get to see it be a part of the competition. The divisions we have: upper extremity, lower extremity, neuromuscular, vision, short stature, seated with and without hip function, and intellectual as well. So really opening up the door for more competition opportunities for people from all walks of life.
3 rounds for the standing athletes of 9 power clean and jerks and 30 double unders. That description in the green at the top of your screen. And after this, we will have the seated athletes, and then we will have the final event for the teams. Bruscantini done with his second round. I believe that's Georgina Rufy Marquez. There's a hearing impairment. And the adaptive division, and this is one thing that we were fortunate enough to talk to Eric Rosa about, they knew that they wanted to get this started as far as a division at the games are concerned. And it was going to take them time to really get it to where it needs to be. But I love the fact that they wanted to get it done. They wanted to get it started, knowing that it wasn't going to be perfect and that they look to improve on it every year. And again, I think seeing it at the games is going to be really special. We've seen the adaptive athletes at the games in the past, but it's always been in an exhibition sort of capacity, never in an official competition.
Yeah, and I think there's some valuable lessons in it, that they're willing to dive in head first into, even if, like you said, it's not perfect. If you wait for things to be perfect before you start, you'll never start. And so I think this will be a big and important first step for the adaptive community in being formally included in the season and getting a wider spread inclusion into events like the Freakest Challenge as well.
Final round for most of these athletes on this workout for them, the 3 rounds of 9 power clean and jerks and 30 double unders. After this, the seated athletes take the floor for their version of this challenge. Viscontini is feeling it after that one. He sold out in that effort.
He sent
nice
it.
job,
I love
man.
it. Love it. Fitness is the great equalizer. I think that's the beauty of the methodology, right? Universally applicable. That's one of the things I love about the community, right? All that matters is the effort. Doesn't matter who you are, where you're from. Step into the box, step into your affiliate. Go in with full effort, leave with a full heart.
And one of the cool things that I remember talking to Logan Aldridge about as Bruce Contini leaves the floor is that if you've ever had an injury, if you've ever had to work around something, you've been an adaptive athlete.
That really changed it.
100%.
That was a scope adjustment for both of us when we had the chance to talk with him.
We were talking about why it's valuable for if you're a gym owner or a coach to take the adaptive training course, and that's why it's not just people that you would consider with traditional disabilities. If someone's been injured, if someone's working back from a surgery, if someone can't doesn't have full range of motion on something, you have to find ways to work around that.
It comes down a little bit to the core of why we do this, right? Like everyone who owns a gym, coaches at a gym, wants to do so because they're trying to improve the lives and the health of people. More importantly, their health, and by virtue of that, their lives. And the more people that you're able to do that for, the more effective you are at spreading that message and accomplishing that goal. And that demands more tools in the toolbox to be able to help those people, and adaptive training is one of those.
Final couple reps for the athletes who are still on the floor. And the weights and the movements, obviously, for some of these athletes are just vary based on their abilities. Georgina Rufi Marquez working through her clean and jerks. I believe that's Marta Romero Viejo with her in the black shorts.
Good fight for that last little bit of lockout.
About 30 seconds to go before we hit the time cap. 8 minutes. Good fight from both of these athletes as they are not quitting here in the final seconds of this event.
One last rep before the time cap.
And that'll do it for our first heat of adaptive athletes. The seeded athletes will be out next.
Esta primera final de la historia del Freakest Challenge en categoría individual y también en
Remember, after this, the
individual.
final two teams will take the floor. It's going to be 77 feet, taking on Officine for the overall victory here at the Fittest Freakest. And if you're just joining us, we spoke about this earlier, but you were fortunate enough to be in person at this event a couple of years ago. And you mix the production value that they have here with a live environment. That has to be a lot of fun.
Oh man, it is like a 3 to 4 hour party in there. A ton of bells and whistles. You had all of these teams that had gone through online qualification to get to that arena. You had a sold out arena that did so in just minutes, and where athletes were and people were lined up around the block to get in even beforehand. You had 8 elite athletes, Mat Fraser, Noah Olsen, or Horvath. I mean, the full gamut of the top athletes. They're coaching and working with the teams individually on the floor. I mentioned before, Buttery Bros running around with t-shirt cannons. Awesome music playing. The vibe was perfect. And really, it was a celebration of the work that the teams had done in this really cool, I don't want to say high stress. It is high stress, but like
high stakes.
High stakes is a better way of putting it, because you know it was win or go home type, and it added a little bit of excitement to it, and it was a phenomenal experience. And you know, presented the opportunity, would love to go back.
I was fortunate enough to see an invitational and a couple regionals over in Madrid, and the crowd there was phenomenal. I remember when we were there for the invitational, they had a meet and greet with the athletes, sort of an autograph session, picture session, and they, Camila Blanc-Bazanet came out of that with her eyes just so wide at the reaction to all the fans. I mean, it was chaos in there. They were really happy to see some of the best athletes in the world, and really brought the energy into the event itself, not only the invitational, but also the regionals. Seeded division, 3 rounds of 9 clean and press, 23 kilos for the men, 18 kilos for the women, and then 60 battle ropes. There's an 8-minute time cap on this event as well. And that's Alex Moriente Aviales. He's from Barcelona. The wheel wad open, he was 23rd. Now 60 battle ropes.
If you're watching at home and you have some adaptive athletes in your gym, take note. Use these.
100%.
Use this as an opportunity to learn and grow. Think of creative training opportunities to improve the quality of the training for your clients.
Lucia Sharon Rivolo, who was at Wadapalooza in 2020. She was second in the adaptive scaled seated division. Workout description at the top of your screen. And the green ribbon, 9 clean and press, 23 kilos, 18 kilos. And then the battle ropes, 30 each arm. Volo working through her clean and press. Final rep for her, and she'll go back to the battle rope.
Got a little bit of a race in our hand. All 4 athletes on what looks like their second round of battle rope so far.
Ravolo going through her reps. I believe that's Jose Ariane Fernandez. He also competes in wheelchair basketball and badminton. Ravolo's done.
You smoked that. I wonder if she put it in that walk.
Great job.
You smashed that.
A thumbs up from Lucia. Jose Fernandez. His final set of clean and press.
See fatigue start to set in. You got to fight for that lockout there for the final few reps.
Aviles is going back to the battle rope for the final time, 30 reps on each side. And Aviles is just about done, as he and Fernandez going head-to-head, facing off against each other here. Fernandez is in that black shirt now on your screen. I was fortunate enough one time to actually compete in a game of wheelchair basketball, and it is one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life as far as athletics is concerned. And we are done.
And it highlights the perseverance of these athletes, you know.
Absolutamente espectacular el esfuerzo.
Great show put on by the adaptive athletes there as we are getting ready for the final matchup between the teams. 77 feet and Afacine squaring off in the event that was programmed by Mat Fraser for the finals. And we mentioned it's basically worm DT with some burpees over the worm thrown in for good measure. 3 total rounds, 15 burpees over the worm, 12 worm deadlifts, 9 worm cleans, and then 6 worm push-throughs. So many places in this event where this thing can go wrong. Take a look at the replay from the adaptive athletes. Standing athletes going first, and then they handed things off to the seated athletes.
Y animal UFC style.
Good to see some action both from the standing and seated athletes, see the multiple variations of this final workout. All of these athletes have taken the floor multiple times today. We mentioned that before we took the air for the broadcast. They were throwing down as well. All of it being broadcast on national television, so an awesome platform.
Great exposure for the methodology and the sport in Europe right now. Jordi doing a great job. They're live inside the building.
De esta gran final, de esta edición, sin duda la más difícil y dura de toda la historia.
The 2 teams competing across at 77 feet. They opened up with a victory over Pamplona in the quarterfinals. Then they were able to beat Four Friends in the semis. That's how they got to the finals. Afficine beat Ardebros in the quarterfinals, and then took advantage of a huge mistake by C23. Afficine smooth and flawless in their semifinal event, and that's how they wound up in the finals. So 77 feet taking on Afficine for all the marbles at the Fittest Freakest Challenge in the final event, Worm DT. It's the HWPO final. It was programmed by Mat Fraser. Fraser was greeted the athletes by a video at the beginning of the broadcast. As you heard Tommy mention, he's a man who's been part of this event in person in the past. Hopefully we get back to that sooner rather than later. Restrictions in Spain just did not make it possible for fans to be on hand this year, but they decided that they were able to put on a broadcast, and we're happy to be part of it. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think the past year has highlighted in many ways that as a community we can still come together to do things to rally around, like the Freakish Challenge, like hosting an event where you have some in-person flavor for the athletes to be able to compete, and then being able to broadcast in multiple languages. We have Spanish, we have Italian, we have English, bringing this performance to a whole host of different fans in their native languages as well.
Across at 77 feet, making their way out to the floor, the foursome of Francesca Riga, Aniol Akai, Helena Avendano, and Valentina Wrangle.
I think this highlights the level of detail that they went through in this event. You can see the walk-in, there's branding, there's lights, everything, like almost no stone left unturned in this venue. And I think it adds a little bit to the experience as far as the athletes and what they get to go through, and feeling like there's this sense of importance and like these high stakes that you get to walk into. This is where it feels like you're walking into fight club, you know.
Afficine taking the floor. Pietro Anderloni, Manfredi Ottavi, Antea Longo, and Elisa Fuliano. The foursome for them. And that does look like a great venue to have this event. Get a little backstage look there.
Rock out, throw some barbells around, sling some tin.
I've always wanted to see a live band play during a live CrossFit competition. I always thought that would be like an open announcement where we would do something like that.
I remember back in 2009.
I remember this.
It's a fun story. There was the talk about like trying to get a live band, and I think at one point it was floated, what was the cost to have Metallica play at the games in Aromas? Yep. The price ended up being way too expensive.
Yeah, there was no way they're going to afford that one.
But could you imagine for like the opening, like they're about to do the deadlift, you know, the deadlift ladder, and then the doors roll up and you hear like Master of Puppets starts playing.
Yeah, I thought it would be cool to have it in a club like this with a live band just playing loud. Chaos about to erupt and a competition going on in the middle of the floor. I think something I've always wanted to see.
There's a mosh pit ring around the outside of the competition floor. Be amazing.
77 feet, getting set to take on Afficine here in the final matchup. Winner take all in this event. And we're going to bring back out the worm, and we were talking about it earlier before we watched the adaptive athletes. There's a whole lot of places where this event could go wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Sin poder estarlo físicamente, pero sí con su mente destructiva, creando un workout final para esta finalísima. Así que voy a pedir que los equipos
mentioned that this event is programmed by Mat Fraser, and he is actually going to be the guy that's going to take us through this and explain the workout via video to the two teams on the floor, 77 feet and Afficine.
Congratulations, you've proven to be the best, but now it's time to see who wants it the most. I've created this final event, and it's special to me because of the challenges I faced during a very similar event in the games in 2015, Heavy DT. The final event is 3 rounds, 15 synchro burpees over the worm, 12 worm deadlifts, 9 worm hang cleans, 6 worm shoulder to overhead. Good luck.
Ahí lo teníamos. Ahí lo teníamos, Mat Fraser.
That's similar to an event that we saw in the semifinals of the Granite Games where they did do worm DT, but now we've thrown in the burpees and keep trying to get you to make the point, but we can't get a little distracted, but there's a workout. But anytime you have this many movements with the worm, there can be errors everywhere.
Absolutely, and we've spoken many times on broadcast, the difficulty that the worm presents, particularly with deadlifts and being an awkward movement where the weight is a little bit further out in front of you. Good friend Chase Ingram is famous to state it's like deadlifting with the bar 2 feet away from your body. You have burpees over the worm, where you have athletes crossing paths and moving in opposite directions all at once. Worm hang cleans, where it's one of the harder movements if you don't have a good rhythm there, because you would basically have to get the worm to the hip, and there's no point where you really reach extension for the break like you would with the barbell. You're right back up to the shoulder. You're also turning 90 degrees at a time, so there's a ton of lateral movement and core engagement there, and then the shoulder to overhead, a nice quick movement where if you get out of sync and that worm comes crashing down, it's demoralizing.
You think back to, I think it was it 2013 they first introduced the worm?
Mm-hmm.
And remember, like, there was no canvas cover on it. It was just wood with space in between it, and that claimed a lot of people's ear skin and pinky fingers. And it was dangerous.
The inclusion of stuff like the worm also highlights the growth and development of the sport as we kind of fine-tune it, right? The first version of the worm was pulled directly out of Dave Castro's time in SEAL team,
right,
where they had a similar implement, wood logs tied together or connected through the center by rope. And what we found is in the dynamic CrossFit competition environment, things can happen. Earrings get ripped out, shoulders get scraped up, fingers get popped. And so they built this canvas worm that has now becomes just a mainstay and a necessity, I would say, in the team competition and the many variations that it takes.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier as we look at the matchup in this final, 77 feet, and CrossFit Officine on the floor. Winner take all. It is the best implement out there for testing total teamwork and fitness.
I mean, you want to require communication, nonverbal and verbal. You want to require consistency of effort across the board, as well as highlight any efficiencies that a team might have in a way that is maybe meaningful. And that's what the worm does, and all at once. And it's amazing to think about what the team competition was before that. We have some elements of it, of synchronized and combined movements between multiple athletes, but nothing ties it all together like the worm does.
77 feet, CrossFit Officine. Empieza la final del Freakest Challenge en 3, 2, 1, tiempo.
Final event is underway. 3 rounds of the 15 burpees over the worm, and then 12 worm deadlifts, 9 worm cleans, and 6 worm clean and jerks.
An interesting standard to note here, and sometimes you'll have the athletes where they have to do burpees over the worm, where it's basically not worm-facing burpees, where they can have 2 athletes on either side. Here today, it is burpees facing the worm, so you will have all 4 athletes side by side. If I'm a team, I actually might prefer this version a little bit.
100%. The 2 on each side, as we've seen in semifinal competitions, game competitions, a little harder to synchronize than when all 4 athletes are on the same side. But you still need to have one person calling the signals to make sure that everybody is on the same page. So final burpee for Officine on the right. And now they will get to the worm, and they begin with 12 deadlifts.
A little stumble already from 77 feet, getting over that last worm burpee. And this is what's difficult about these deadlifts. You really have to toy with your grip, and you have to have some time under tension in this movement, because what we've seen some athletes struggle with is, depending on lever length, arm length, femur length on the legs, it's really difficult to get to lockout sometimes.
77 feet has already got that worm down, and they are still working on their deadlifts. And if you have not practiced this, it can be extremely difficult. And now on to the hang cleans. And it's Aniola Kai, in the front, who is the man calling out the signals. Afecine in the all black. Manfredi Ottavi, he is in front. And now they are on their worm push jerks.
And like you would see in normal DT with the barbell, you'll see teams take a little break. We saw this here too already, is they take a break after the deadlifts at 11 to make sure you have enough energy. When you pick up that one to finish 12, you can jump right into the hang cleans and you don't have to hesitate about getting the shoulder to overhead.
Afecine on the right got hit with an early no rep on this second of 3 rounds of 15 burpees. 77 feet, was able to really have a good pace on those push jerks to close out their first round.
And there was some miscommunication as well when they were done with the last rep. A lot of times when with shoulder to overhead, when you're counting, you can get some athletes out of sync thinking they actually have to do one extra to get over to finish the rep when they don't have to. And you saw them having to transfer the worm with athletes on either side of it. So slight communication that could, if it shows up in the middle of a set versus at the end, could cost them.
Second of 3 rounds here. Both teams on their 15 burpees over the worm. Just in time for the Fittest Freakest Challenge this weekend. Hyperice's partnership with Fittest Freakest is now officially live with their installation of the Recovery Zone powered by Hyperice at the Fittest Freakest flagship store in Barcelona. Hyperice is proud to support all of the incredible athletes competing this year and moving forward to give everyone in Barcelona and beyond the opportunity to get ready, recover right, and set their goals even higher with the same tech the Fittest Freakest Challenge athletes choose to perform their best. 77 feet onto the 12 deadlifts. This is their second round of those. They have 1 remaining. So as you said, Tommy, taking that strategic break before they get into the hang cleans and keeping an eye on the team across them. CrossFit Afecine, who has fallen back now behind 77 feet for first place. Winner of this event wins the entire thing here at the Fittest Freakest Challenge. 4 reps remaining on this second of 3 rounds of the 9 worm cleans.
You can see the front athlete from Afecine really struggling with the grip there. You see he's almost choked up a little bit more than he needs to, or most athletes are, just to make sure he doesn't drop it, because he's actually choked up a little bit as far as where he's holding the worm. He's got a little extra slack in front of him.
77 feet, the first team to move on to their third and final round, and you saw their pace on those push jerks, and that is where they were able to get the lead at the end of the first round. And they are ahead as both teams are on their second and final set of 15 burpees over the worm.
You can see the front athlete really bears the brunt of the worm most oftentimes when it comes to holding an extra little bit of weight and not necessarily having the benefit of athletes on either side. And you can see it manifest itself with how tired the front athlete from 77 feet is. He's just a little bit zapped.
That's Aniel Akai, who has been in the front this entire time for 77 feet. CrossFit Afecine in the all black. They are trying to catch up here. As 77 feet had the lead going into this third and final round.
Something to keep your eye on. If Kai starts to fall apart on this last round of DT, that could be the opening that Afecine that needs. And you can see Valentina Wrangle kind of giving the hurry up, let's go, let's finish this.
Final round of 12 deadlifts for 77 feet. They beat Pamplona in the quarterfinals. Then they defeated 4 friends in the semis, and now looking to win the entire thing with a victory over Afecine. And Afecine, they are just starting their worm deadlifts.
And one thing you don't see a ton of chalk out there. So as you start to get sweaty, it gets really hard to grip the canvas of the worm, especially if you didn't bring any chalk out to help dry up the hands a little bit when you get in mid-workout.
Now the hang cleans for 77 feet. They have maintained their lead here. Akai gutting through this, as Afecine has now 3 reps remaining on the deadlifts. The problem for them is that when 77 feet have gotten to the push jerks, they have been lightning fast, and they are on those now. 6 reps between 77 feet and a win here at the Fittest Freakest Challenge. They are halfway through. And now a no rep, and we'll take that back. They are done in 77 feet across the finish line, and they have won the Fittest Freakest Challenge.
The legacy team from the very first edition of the Freakest Challenge in 2015 crossed at 77 feet, ran the gamut today, beating Red Grizzly. I'm sorry, beating Four Friends, Pamplona, and now Officine to make a miraculous run, and a little bit of confetti on there to sprinkle a little on top.
A great effort from them, and as I mentioned, it was really those worm push jerks that allowed them to get that lead at the end of round 1. They held it in round 2, and then they gutted through round 3. They were able to go unbroken once again on the push jerks. No reason to put the worm down at that point. They get across the finish line, and they have won the 2021 Fittest Freakest Challenge. And Valentina Wrangle right there celebrating with her team. We've mentioned it a couple times, but she was flirting with a berth at the CrossFit Games in the last chance qualifier. She was inside the top 5 for much of that competition, but just unable to work her way into the top 2. But this has got to feel pretty good for her.
Yeah, I mean, being able to bounce back in a team format like this, do basically 4 workouts in a couple hours. That is a stout test, regardless of who you are. And they get to walk away with a big victory, and celebrate with their friends and family as the team from Spain to hold it for the home crowd, even though the virtual crowd.
Absolutamente apoteósica esta finalísima. Los jueces, por favor, al escenario rapidísimo. Los equipos a pista. Quiero tener aquí, por favor, al escenario.
2 teams shaking hands.
77 feet. El equipo de 77 feet, por favor, al escenario.
Pietro Aneloni talking it over with Daniel Akai there. Antea Longo in the headband and black top. And Pietro Aneloni. Saw him and Francesca Garriga. And there's Akai, who, like you said, kind of bore the brunt of that event being in the front, but was able to keep his composure. He was slowing down on that burpees, but when they got to the worm, he was able to hang on and helps lead his team to a win here. Team from Costa Brava. As Jordi is getting set to talk to them, but fun competition to watch here with this bracketed format, knockout style. Presentation of the Fittest Freakest Trophy. And that is going to look very good across at 77 feet.
Nice little addition to the hardware case. Hard-fought competition today, and I think the crew from 77 feet maybe earned themselves a few celebratory wobbly pops.
And just, again, a great format with the head-to-head winner-take-all, something that we don't see very much of at all in any team competition. Very unique to this setting, and was a lot of fun to watch, and definitely provided us with some exciting moments.
Hey guys, congrats on winning this year's Freakest Challenge. It was exciting to watch you guys give your best and crush the event I designed. I want to send you a personal thank you gift for accepting my challenge, so I'm going to sign a few pairs of my signature Metcon 7s and t-shirts and send them to you. Congrats again, and wish you the best.
Well, the trophy will look good in the trophy case. The shirts and the Metcons, pardon me, are going to look really good on the feet.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do we get them?
I know, I get some signed Metcons. That's a good day's work right there. Getting some things signed by the champ, also getting a trophy as well.
Especially those new Metcon 7s.
I've yet to see those yet. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody, here on the English broadcast of the Fittest Freakest. I want to thank the Fittest Freakest for having us along. We had a blast here. We will sign off and leave you guys in the very capable hands of Jordi and his crew there in Barcelona. So for Tommy Marquez, I'm Sean Woodland. Thank you so much, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.